Wait, things are working.
Go
Cool,
get your
cool, cool.
wings.
Uh,
When you have 5G home internet, you can get entertainment you already love for less, like Netflix and Max, Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. Save on them all. Plans start at just $35 a month. Only on Verizon.
yo, Ravi, let's go. Hold on, I'm doing all my promotional shit that I have to do.
Welcome to the Esports World Cup.
We're still early,
They don't want to see you win.
dude. I'm so like ready, man. I'm so excited.
You don't want to see me win.
And
Boy, don't play
put it
pretend.
down.
They don't want to see me win. You don't want to see me win, right? Boy, don't play pretend. Don't you play pretend out here. You don't want to see me win. You don't want to see me win, right? Boy, don't play pretend. Don't you play pretend out here like we some friends. Let me show my lens up. Shit, I pull my pins up. But just a bit of static in your eyes. I can see panic, boy. Don't you try to mess up, or else you need to clean up. Collecting all them checks up, and then you scream off fix up. Man, all these rappers out here cat. I'm not even mad at that. If you're ready to dry to your lies, just give me a Sonic. I am fine with that. I guess that's just the difference. Hit your girl, I put some kisses. Had her all up in my mentions and her feelings. Plus she's Spanish. From this pressure, I make diamonds. That's why my pen is so polished. I was done with being modest, cause my bro was suicidal. Had my life all up in shambles. That's the cost of being an artist. But I do it all again if I'm being completely honest. What is life? Am I even real? Am I in a stimulation? Tell me, how can I tell? Tracks on the shelf, broke the damn shelf. Woman out here losing weight like a Dell. He was in his bag, but it wasn't himself. So when I let him down, he probably needed help. He was walking around these streets with some damage. I think we all walk around with some baggage. They don't wanna see you win. They don't wanna see you win. Don't play pretend. Don't you play pretend. You don't wanna see me win. You don't wanna see me win. Boy, don't play pretend. Don't you play pretend. They don't wanna see me win. They don't wanna see you. Boy, don't play pretend. Don't you play pretend. You don't wanna see me win. Don't you wanna see me win. Boy, don't play pretend. Don't you play pretend.
No power form against me, boy, shall ever prosper. Winning with the team and then go order lobster. That's all we know, round table like a mobster. Put the
Yo, Skizzy, what's up, man? Hold on, I'm still doing prep stuff.
no new friends, no none of you. All you real comical, we gon' see who stands when the summers do. Play pretend, see it chronicles, y'all mostly loud like carnivals. Ooh, I know you're tight, really should've been, you know, on sight. For the glory, I press no brakes, you know I fight. Got a chip on my shoulder, right? I remember well when they all declined. Tripping like a and they all of, but I kept it rolling like I'm Dolomite. Even through it all, you know I rise like the chosen one, you know, like Christ.
They don't wanna see you win. They don't wanna see you win. Don't play pretend. Don't you play pretend. You don't wanna see me win. You don't wanna see me win. Boy, don't play pretend. Don't you play pretend. They don't wanna see you win. They don't wanna see you. Boy, don't play pretend. Don't you play pretend. You don't wanna see me win. Don't you wanna see me win. Boy, don't play pretend.
Okay. think that's good. I think that's fine. Okay, how's everyone doing? Oh yeah, I saw the new HUD. Like, dude, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I'm gonna try to fix it. Like, I saw like KMTlol and Dominate like trying to like fix the HUD. I can't do that, dude. I can barely fucking stream. So we're just gonna roll with it. Whatever happens, happens.
Welcome to the second day of First Dance 2025. Yesterday we saw the first
Squizzy,
NA
if
versus
Automod says
EMEA
no,
match of the year,
I'm
which
not
made some of us happy,
allowing it.
but they're still here cheering for every team. On the other side of the matchup, we had
Listen, let's not get me banned on day one, okay? I played. I just got here. Squizzy.
Last team we have CFO will have to offer to the table against KC today. I'm Laure and I'm joined by Valdez and
CFO! Let's go!
How are you doing?
I mean, we're doing great.
We're great.
We both win.
Hell yeah.
We're the winners.
We're
I
winners.
feel a little bit sad for you,
I know, it's
Laura, but
just me
not
and-
sad enough to like redo the games or anything.
No.
TL, I was so worried. I gotta be honest.
That's
I
right,
was
baby.
so worried.
CFO! CFO!
This tournament, I
Dude,
was
look what
so
jersey
worried,
I have.
especially
I got
because
rest, baby.
PUBG just completely locked in.
Game one
you know, back in
demon.
Korea and absolutely just smurfed on it. I was super happy.
They look so comfortable.
I'm not sure what the new meta will be like, though, and how much that'll affect CFO. I do know, but I can't tell you. We're gonna find out together. Live! Wow!
I have a
Amazing.
tearing up already, ready just in case. But yeah, let's think about the reactions that we had yesterday and talk through what Team Liquid posted after the series. I love the bencher game from this organization, and I thought
I do too. Yesterday's game was fucking banger. Yo, let's go, dude!
What is a kilometer? I love the French
What
translation, but
is
I really love
a
it.
kilometer, dude?
Yeah, that's
It
a
is
class.
What the
classic.
fuck
It
is a
classic.
kilometer?
Sadly, it's becoming a classic, and that's what I don't like.
Dude, that's so American, dude. Hell yeah. God bless. Thank you, APA. Hopefully they've ruined their confidence.
It is stacked up a couple years in a row now, whereas before I was like,
Cause yeah, yesterday we were able to chill, watch, analyze, learn like what they're picking,
I
what's
don't- I don't
working,
feel
what's
bad,
not.
honestly. I feel like it's deserved because when you consider the fact that people were not rating this TL lineup really high,
Yeah.
honestly, really deserved.
Casey, what's that? Never heard of them? They can't be that good? Yeah, I don't think they're that good either.
It was a jungle gap.
It certainly
This
was.
series, I feel, what did you see as Umti's main improvements here, besides the beautiful smile that we're going to see?
It honestly was all things across the board. Game number one was just perfect on the Maokai. He played exactly to the team comp, executed the strategy, constantly going towards bottom side. They picked the Maokai into the first pick. Vi, look at that happy face. How can you not, fall in love with that?
course.
But on top of that,
Targamas and only Vladdy get leaking mages. Yeah. Free win? Yeah.
Careers. Like
I mean, I could talk bad about K Corp, because like I know what the analysis is. Like we did scouting analysis, like what to do, how they play. I think bot lane is going to be a weak point for K Corp. Like I think Kalis got kind of exposed yesterday. Like Yeon and Core JJ were way better.
Like the veterans who really showed they were very
Like I think in Europe,
was fantastic.
it was like close, but like I think Fnatic bot lane and G2 bot lane were able to like show that the K Corp bot lane is kind of a weak spot.
For Yike, honestly, I had a chance to talk
And
to
I think
him
Doggo
about
Kaiwing are just like solid good players.
He's gonna show in the
Damn,
stats.
112 and 0?
So game 1 and 3, he was not able to bring the same level of communication and advice that he usually
I
provides
hope
in
so, man.
PvC,
I really hope so, but we're not
especially
jinxing
when-
anything.
What's that, guys?
We're not jinxing anything. Yo, Liag, what's up? Thank you for the follow.
comms is
Or
having
Leah.
a bad individual performance. Because then, like you're saying, your comms are also going to suffer. Of course, like you said, also
No
stats
bad
like the
jinxing.
losses,
I will say,
they
if
do
you
get a
guys try to
little bit
fucking
better
curse
to
CFO,
navigate.
dude, the
Game
ban
two
hammer is
was,
coming down hard.
definitely very
I don't give a
active, but,
fuck.
yeah, the losses were really
And you will not get
painful. As we
unbanned
saw
if
that with game
CFO
number one, where
loses.
it's just constant picks from TL.
Liag?
This is
Oh,
one of
okay.
those things where the
Damn,
team
hell
pick
yeah.
from TL
Yo,
really intelligent
Tsuchi, what's
plays
up? Long time
where
no
they use
see.
vision to their advantage. They're
Session
setting
ready.
traps all over the map, and it's one of the things where you're talking about.
Listen,
oh, what did Team Liquid
English
do
is my
better
second
this time
language,
around?
okay? I can't
And
read
it really was a
confusing
lot of stuff
names.
on
Just
team
have a simple
execution,
name like
and we started to
Bob
see it
or
change
Tot.
when they flew spawn out.
Tot is a very easy name because you can write it the same way forwards or backwards or upside down.
Up there, hyping up Umpty, like, you know, consoling him, getting him to focus. You saw Umpty like meditating in between the games too, and it just seems like the team overall are playing better individually.
Grass.
But also, you know, they're
Muchas
executing to the game plan and
gracias.
much more focused.
Absolutely. It's
Tot?
gonna be an
First time
interesting
hearing
matchup
that
for them,
name? What do you
later
mean?
Today. Valdez, HLE.
Dude, you need to get out more and meet more people.
That was just domination. I mean, there
Yeah,
wasn't really
TOT,
an
Tot.
opponent on the Rift, right? Like, they
Yeah.
just came in here, they played their game, they played great. Like, not to take anything away from how, like,
This is
they
when
looked
Top
so
Esports just
comfortable.
lost
And I
the
think it really
game.
is all
Honestly,
part luck
after
and
that
the
play,
fact that coming off
the
this,
whole game was a disaster.
relatively,
It was really
great
close,
sweep
and then that point is when it wasn't close.
where they keep winning game fives, right? They just
But
couldn't
champion
get
pool
into
fits
the
in there
top.
perfectly. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not really
No, we've been
showing us
practicing
what
the
they're capable
champion
of,
pool, and it's been
especially
really
with,
good.
I feel like, you know,
Like, rest, driver combo, like, is so OP.
Delight's Alistair really
I think game one is still
not be giving this guy Alistair,
rest.
and,
Game 2 and 3 will
he's good
depend
at
on
it.
pick and ban.
It was just Omega Stomp. I was expecting a little bit more, but Life were just really comfy.
I wanted to talk about
Because, like, we do it based off draft. Like, dress and driver have, like, you know, 5 champions they both work on, right? That's completely separate. Then it's like, okay, do you do 1v1s and practice and try to teach each other what they think is going on?
Former top laner, used to play with Peanut, of course.
And what a good
he was
segue, dude. Laura's
really
fucking beast, dude.
praising Zeus's
She's
performance.
like, oh, here's the interview.
He's co-streaming for
What the
Hong
fuck?
Kong
Who's
Live,
this guy?
So,
Yeah.
of course, a lot here.
Oh, is that Smeb?
It's really cool to see. I mean, you can see here. This is actually.
It is Smeb. What the fuck?
His old teammate just screaming his name.
What the fuck?
And then very excitedly.
Dude, Smeb, dude. What a fucking goat, dude. That guy is like one of the greatest top laners ever. Respect, dude. Damn, everybody's streaming.
Amazing on that pick yesterday.
And it really, like,
Does that mean they're gonna have me?
heartwarming
Oh, I better watch what I say then, dude. What if I'm like, CFO?
OG Peanut.
Why did he retire? I don't know.
People on Italy all the time. You know, those are the
I
types
think it
of
was like
stories that,
motivation problems.
really bring a lot of
Like, 'cause, like, yeah, the
emotion to
last
watch.
year he just like,
And I know
I think he
everyone's
just
scared
kind of
about
gave
these
up.
players and about these stories. We still have
But yeah, he
one
was
more
really good for like
in intro
3-4 years, like one of the best top players in the world.
CFO, Flying Oysters, we know them. It's the second time.
Yeah.
He's gonna compete internationally.
We know them. We know them.
Can we
Let's
stop
go.
this team?
Let's
Well, they
go.
made some changes, and
Yo,
Junjia
dress
before we
driver.
had
Look at that
Junjia,
duo,
they
dude.
decided to let Junjia go, and Flying Oysters were very happy to pick him up, and this team again is going to play.
Damn. KDA, kill participation, goal difference.
Heavy skirmishing champs. Yes, he does.
The
do
CS is
some
not that good,
J1
but-
and stuff like that as well. But in general, like, you're going to
Dude, this
follow
jersey
the
might
action
cover
of
one
what
of your
the
legs.
jungler is
Let's
in these
go,
games,
CFO,
and it
Jayo.
really is
I'm
another
so ready, dude. I'm
kind of
so
revenge
ready.
where PSG Town, you know, they kick him, and then the team that he joins then beats them, and now they're here at the international. And so it is like that is one of the biggest stories and biggest.
Oh yeah,
games.
by the way, guys, I am on YouTube. If you do miss the stream, go check it out on YouTube. You can watch my other streams. I've done a lot of co-streaming this year. I've covered LCP, PCS, Asia Masters, a little bit of VCS, and I'm gonna work on more like LGL stuff. We will do predictions. I will do predictions.
Potentially a new unkillable Demon King, Honkyu.
Damn, Taiwanese faker? Is that what the fuck you just called his ass?
Here at first stand. What can we expect from this player, guys?
Oh, dude, this was fucking like, look at that, dude. Just broke his legs. Dude, look at that. Oh, 4-man shockwave.
Incredibly mechanically gifted. and he lives up to the
Look
hype.
at that,
So,
dude.
Punky
He
was
just
able to do that
finds
in his
it.
first season. He did win the finals MVP, I believe, and really is getting a lot of focus here for how strong he is as a player mechanically.
I'll start predictions now.
Like this, with all the pressure.
I don't know which side we'll
Obviously,
be
we've
on, but
seen,
it'll be fine.
Already some of our younger players not getting the wins that they want, so how can he play tonight is the
I'll
big
just
question.
assume CFO's
And I would
blue
say
side
responsible
and
what to
K Corp will be
expect,
red
more
side.
traditional carry role.
But
When
who
people
will win
read about
game
Jungle
one? Why
Rose,
aren't you
they
wearing
always
the
feature
jersey? Because I have this
whatever.
shirt on.
You
And,
have
like, I
the,
wanna be able to, like,
explosive
show
plays.
it.
It's not as much of the,
Like, look how nice it
playmaking
starts.
And explosive plays, much more traditional carry.
It's really nice. Good
so
quality.
baby face, honestly, coming from this young player. Let's see what is gonna happen against Fladdy. But before that,
They didn't ever
let's
mention the
play
fucking
again,
like
because
management,
yesterday
dude.
after the series, Jason had a chance to caught up
I
with
think it's like
in
random.
Horizon game
A two team, you'll play two blue side and two red side. So game start, I don't know who's choosing it.
Kana, thank you so much for your time. So
Oh, it's Kana,
finally
the top
returned
laner.
to TES Park as an LEC champion. How does that feel?
오랜만에 롤파크에 돌아와서 너무 재밌고 되게
Yeah,
설레고
Global has a long time. To be honest, I was really nervous playing the first game.
너무 떨리더라고요.
That machine felt so familiar, but I was still very nervous.
사실 너무 떨리고 2, 3,
I think game 2 and 3 were okay. This will be all best of 3. But unfortunately, we ended up
Do you
losing.
think the stage jitters also affected your play? You were a little nervous, so you were not play up to your best level. Looking back on the entire match today, what do you think went wrong the most?
사실 오늘
Honestly, it was
KC
a
선수들이
disappointing day
너무
because us KC
좀
players
많이
didn't
아쉬운
really get to
하루였던
show
것
much
같아요.
today.
사실 저희 선수들
Our
너무
players are really
잘하는데,
good, so it's even more heartbreaking.
사실 패배 요인은
As for the reason for our loss in game 1, I actually had the choice.
사실 저한테 선택권이 있었는데 뭐 제이스 같이
I could either play a strong champion like Chase or take a different approach.
제가 제이스를 한다고
I personally prefer playing Chase, but looking back now, I feel a bit regretful about the decision.
다시 지금 생각해 보면 좀 더 아쉬운 것 같고.
Okay, okay.
같은 경우는 사실
In game 3, we actually had a lot of favorable situations. Even in voice comms early on, we were saying, oh, we're so ahead.
우리 정말
It almost felt like we had already won, saying things like, we're in a great position, but despite the early lead, we didn't make the right calls on when to fight and when not to, which ultimately led us to lose. In this tournament, only teams that won their region tournament, right? Yeah, so only the best teams from every region are here. That's why it's a small tournament. It's only 5 teams.
사실 다음 경기가 바로 내일 잡혀 있는데요. 사실 이게 하루하루
Yeah, if there's no predictions for the other team, I'll just award all the points
슬퍼할 때가 아니고
to the people that voted.
우리가
whichever
부족한
side.
부분들, 오늘 긴장했던 부분들 잘 얘기하고 싹 다 털어내고 오늘 잠 잘 자고 다음 경기 잘 준비하는 게 제일 베스트인 것 같습니다.
Then lastly, is there any message to the energetic KC fans or the LEC fans in
I
general?
can match if you
저희
want.
KC 팬분들 너무나
Everyone's voting
열정적이고
CFO. Good. Smart.
보내주시는데
I raised you guys well.
롤파크에 와셔서 저기 모여가지고 엄청난 현장감을 즐겼다고 해요. 먼 길 와주시느라 너무 고생 많으셨고요. 아직 경기 많이 남았으니까 저희의 전력을 잘 준비해서 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
Maybe mercy for them or I love you for them.
Merci, my fans. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Kana, and back to you guys.
Mercy. What the fuck? I mean, merci, dude.
It's so cool.
Merci beaucoup.
Ballpark, right? I mean, this is a player he
If
started
CFO
with Team
wins.
1, he had a decent amount of success there, but then he really took a bit of a nosedive. But now, really on a big upswing in his career. And he's back in
CFO.
the
Oh yeah,
ballpark.
Casey will be last place if
Really just
CFO wins
awesome
today.
seeing Talking with G-Sun and how happy he looks.
Because
And
that
so
means
potential openers.
K Corp has already played NA and he lost.
Driver as far as his opponents is going to be playing.
What
Yeah.
the
Been
fuck?
swapping,
I don't have that many
on
channel
flying
points,
like this,
bitch.
so, it's a little bit up in the air. Rest is usually the one that starts and is considered a bit better of the Cassante, and so they would end up usually drafting Cassante earlier, and then they do a little bit of a swap. Personally, that always makes me nervous. 6-person rosters,
Right.
because I have been replaced on a team before, and I did not like that, but it's been working for them.
It is the only team doing this. Actually, I want to know what the fans think.
Well, I
about
mean, 6-man
this
rosters only suck
in
if it's
the
stupid. Yo,
Ambassador
Meander,
Lounge.
what's up,
Fan
man?
prediction, and they're calling the match 65.8% of the fan voted for Casey. I mean, yeah, it's not surprised here.
The
Not surprised
fan
at all.
vote rate at a whopping 0%
Yo, there we
so
go!
far, so hopefully they do a
CFO,
good job.
Jayo!
A little bit
No,
of,
boo!
you know,
Bring back the
competition,
CFO
perhaps,
people. What
after
the
happened
fuck?
Yesterday, I understand why CFO gets
Why the
decent
fuck,
amount,
man?
the vote here.
We'll see about this. We'll see what this new team can bring onto the Rift, and we'll see if KC.
I'm awake. This is my breaking news for the day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning.
At LOL Park. 4 teams.
Ohayo gozaimasu. Zawan.
So let's check what the team.
Konnichiwa. Good morning. Oh, let's watch this, dude. The videos have been pretty good. People don't like them, but like I feel like they're fine.
Last time we faced you guys, you ended up beating us in MSI, but now we're here for revenge.
Dzień dobry.
其实打野的主要是很看打野的节奏。
Their voice is a little bit quiet.
的话，我觉得团战方面就是会比他们线上肯定要强很多嘛，我们会注意这方面。
I respect Shakira a lot. I think he's very strong player.
Yo, Roadhog.
Gonna make sure we win by lane. So I'm gonna support Young Ray.
Right volume? Their voice is quiet. I can't hear them.
봤었는데 TL팀이 되게 호흡이 좋고 한타 잘하는 것 같아서 그걸 줘야 될 것 같습니다.
Oh, this was a really smart play by Team Liquid.
So we're gonna be the winners.
就是等着我们吧，遇到我们你们还是会输的。
This time is gonna be different. This is a new season.
What the fuck?
Best team.
我觉得参加这次国际赛很荣幸。
No, you only get my ugly voice for today.
大展身手。我觉得这次国际赛一定会有跌破众人眼镜的事情发生，其中一定会有我们。
We have a really important game against CFO. We need to focus to get the win.
第一场比赛遇到 KT， 我觉得会是一场很艰难的比赛，因为我
Oh, great.
国际赛遇到
Good lol.
打野亚可，
Look at them, dude.
然后到现在
They're in Korea.
还没有赢过，所以希望我好好发挥赢下这次比赛。
They are for sure the most beatable out of every team that is here.
What?
I'm still feeling very confident.
The most beatable? Nah, dude, you're about to reject those words.
我也新人，然后感觉就是看哪边第一次打国际赛不会紧张，哪边应该就比较容易获胜。
I believe that we have very good players, and the more time we have here, the more time we will grow as well as players. We will.
If you want to get some channel points, get your predictions in,
登上赛场的激动，
get on in,
别
baby.
忘了那份震撼与热血。
Okay, and down again. Okay. Just to let you guys know, I do have a YouTube channel. If you miss a stream, miss a VOD, or if you prefer the YouTube streaming, you can go there and watch. All my past streams are there too. So if you want to rewatch like LCP, PCS, Asia Masters, it's there. Go check it out. Hey, Reds is playing first.
Dude, I'm so excited because we haven't duo-casted together for what feels like a billion years. A billion. And now we get to do it on.
Let's go!
Being flown around the world to cast Korean teams with Chronicler, and now I'm casting no Korean teams, and I'm with Vedius.
What the fuck was that? Looks like it looks like an error message.
The glory that is KC that hopefully wasn't yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna quickly move past yesterday.
Oh, I wasn't watching yesterday.
Exactly.
So it's totally
That's
fine. I wasn't paying attention. I was doing something else. I'm sure.
Oh, someone's CFO fan!
CFO's debut. We're gonna get
oh shit! CFO's the best!
Some names will be familiar to you, while others are brand new because it's a bout of the rookies in the mid lane, with Hongyu making his appearance on his first international stage up against Vladdy, who was able to, let's not forget, able to get a solo kill against APA in game 2. So hoping to see that confidence from both.
No, boo KC! No, we are CFO only. Let's go, dude. I just realized I wasn't looking at YouTube chat. I have a giant pitcher of water blocking my second monitor. Hey, there's Doggo, baby!
In the PCS at the same time. So like I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this team is going to perform because
damn, dude!
So far.
Did you feel that? That intimidation factor, dude? He was staring into my soul. He was just like letting people know, like, hey, I'm here to win. There's Chowie, our head coach.
You're in LOL Park. Yes. In your usual home crowd.
Yeah.
Yes. In the same seat you cast in every week.
Indeed.
And there are no Korean teams.
I know. It's kind of crazy. Thankfully,
There's a Korean player.
Kana's here.
Yeah.
So he's helping to keep me grounded because
the question
we've
is
missed him,
which
you know?
Kana is going to show up today? Because you've cast quite a few different versions of Kana from my recollection.
Yeah, there's been quite a few.
Carmine Corp. Carmine Corp?
Doing a great job. One of the best.
I always thought it was Carmine.
And I would say that, you know, when Korean players go to Europe, things generally look up. You know, you've had like Ignite.
Oh, Warlord's there too. Yeah. Nice. You got 2 coaches, 5 players, drivers in the back analyzing and learning. Who's the large fella? Reha, the coach for Carmine Corp. Coach for KC. I think his name is Reha. Could be. I'm gonna double check. I don't want to say his name wrong. Reha. R-E-H-A. Reha. Reha?
It certainly is. It's a really important series. A really important series for both teams. I mean, it's a great opportunity for CFO, whereas KC, I mean, when you're looking at the competition here at First Stand, this win is very important. So let's jump straight into the draft immediately.
We're in draft, guys. We're in draft. Lock in, baby. Damn, we're banning Draven.
As well. Now, for those that don't know, CFO actually run 2 top laners. They run both Rest and Driver, and Rest normally he's brought out in the first game, particularly because of his Cassante gameplay. So Casey
Cassante banned.
With the ban pull.
Wow.
Driver playing a few extra games, but it's basically a 50-50 split between these.
Zyra banned. Okay. Dude, KC is like trying to show respect.
With the fact that you can go through one set of bans for a top laner, and then have a completely different set, theoretically, if they have different champion pools. And that is sort of what they have done here on CFO's side. But
What would be ban number 3, though?
Maokai's been cropping up a whole lot more. Seems to be a pretty comfortable jungler, but also there is that flexibility.
Go-to jungle pick. Yike is definitely gonna.
I mean, best is open. Oh, we banned the Callista.
Ban from CFO.
Really?
Yes, it is a
Yeah, I thought we would leave it open. Yeah, I was thinking of Mbessa. Mbessa might be first pick now.
Run the risk of giving it over to Callista either. So with the Azir ban away, things like the
Like you ban Draven, because Draven counters Callista. So I thought he's like ban Draven, make them ban Callista.
It's going to be high priority here, especially in this series.
Yeah, and I actually saw some dialogue about Vi yesterday over on the Twibbers, and sort of talking about the fact that she could be a bit of a trap pick. You do kind of get.
Mbessa first pick is an option. Skarner first pick is an option.
A little bit too early, but I think she's still.
People say Skarner's like dog shit, but oh, Rumble, okay.
It is going to be a beautiful Vi partner.
Rest Rumble is pretty good.
I mean, the value of Yone immediately rising in priority. We've got to remember that Hongkyu, known for his Tristana as well. So they do have a few AD mid options, depending on what they want to do.
You do play Tristana mid and Yone mid.
Could be a possibility, not necessarily the best pairing.
Damn, look at this folder. He has a lot of shit in there.
As an engage tool as well. On the side of KC, we did see Yike bring out the.
Yeah, each player gets 1 ban. It's usually the coach telling the players what to ban, or asking the players, "Hey, what would you rather ban, this or this?"
To the Rumble pickup here, Kana could potentially be.
So like, yeah, the players have to click the bans, but it's mostly a team discussion. Volley Bear locked in.
As it wasn't volleyball.
Oh, it was a bug.
Yesterday, where things were not necessarily as they seem, and so we're gonna hop out and we're gonna rebuild the draft.
My favorite draft bug was when you would pick a champ that was like, I don't know, Sivir, and immediately it just locks in just something else beginning with S.
Completely random.
And you pick Sivir.
I mean, it was happening all
like,
day yesterday. Like, what the Kai'Sa got locked in, and we had like a whole bunch of Kai'Sa analysis, even though it was a bit of a weird place to pick Kai'Sa, and then but that was Cassante, ladies and gentlemen. That's not how that goes.
I don't know what the issues are, but when we have information, we'll share it with you at home. In the meantime, as a reminder, as Atlas was saying earlier, this is CFO's first series here at the tournament. It's all best of 3s. Every team is going to play against one another, but for KC, crucially,
CTBC Flying Oyster.
Top esports and HLE are the heavy hitters, guaranteed teams to make it out of this group stage. Then your immediate opponent is CFO, right? And they've already lost to Team Liquid, so now KC need
Yeah.
this victory because the competition's not going to get any easier.
Varus is good.
And when there's only one team that's knocked out after group stages as well, it does feel like a gang up.
I'll pull up my cheat sheet just so I can get a better drafting idea.
Looking like they're the weakest does have a target painted on their back, and right now that target is firmly sitting on KC because I think a lot of people think the TES is going to be.
Yeah, the Rumble first pick I think was good.
Competitive against HLE, even though it was a 2-0, and I don't know how HLE won with the drafting game. That's neither here nor there.
Zyra, so here it's what? Callista. Then they banned Azir, and we first picked Rumble.
I miss casting with you.
Yeah.
You're always bringing me up when I'm
They called CFOs the weakest because it's gonna get much harder because they haven't played China or Korea yet.
That's great.
He's definitely my source.
I love that Chronicle's just catching shot. He's just at home. I know he's watching with his ale right now, and he's just like, hey!
Yeah. That's why it's immediately you just you default to
Mbessa. Oh, okay.
Kana's Ambessa. Domestically, this was one of his go-to favorites. He has a lot of carry performances on the
Vi.
In particular, I was gonna say the Ambessa was something.
Yeah, they definitely underestimate us because nobody watches LCP, right? Like, if you're from EU, you don't watch LCP. That's usually what happens. So people just are like confused. Oh, I see Skarner. It's hovered. Skarner's locked in. So what would they pick mid? Yone? Dude, that sounds so OP. Okay, we're picking Ezreal first. Okay.
Ignored for forever. I know right now in solo queue is win rate or pick rate.
Kaisa, wow, they really want to go in on that.
But here, it is still something that's pretty high value. Find some success on it yesterday, as the Ezreal is going to be the lock-in here. Kaisa then pretty comfortably going.
What would you ban? There's some mid and support are still open, right?
The Ezreal versus Kaisa situation. Yeah. I feel like the lane.
Maybe some. I think CFO would want to ban stuff like Rakan or Leona. Yeah, and KC might ban Yone Tristana. That might be the play.
Very much agree.
Honestly, if there's like a mid champion that you don't want them to have.
From KC, we talked about how it's good at dive. The backline threat onto Ezreal. I mean, it's one of the champions that you really want that lockdown for. So, Doggo, he's going to have his work cut out for him, as this top side is going to be looking to lock him down. The Yone ban, we talked a little bit about that earlier. I think Tristana would make a lot of sense. We'll see if KC have done their research.
Okay, they're banning Ahri. Yeah, because Ahri Vi is pretty strong. Then by that mindset, you should ban Talia.
Actually one of his comfort picks, personally. He did have a bit of a rough performance on it yesterday after falling behind early.
Because Talia Vi is also really strong.
Usually he's very well known for his Victor in particular. You saw Team Liquid consistently banning that champion away from him. But I will say that based on the domestic series, it's not
a Victor ban could work.
Too early. He may very well save it for later on into the series, and we'll see what direction they go.
Yeah, Talia.
I feel like Victor is a really good later in Fearless type pick because he kind of fits into a whole bunch of different compositions. Whereas an Ahri pairs with Vi pretty well.
100%.
We could say.
So what support would they want?
More popular duos as far as jungle.
Are they going Aurora blind?
Another champion that can work.
Punchy lady.
Tristana is open.
I just don't.
Yeah, Talia makes sense. No, I agree. I was just thinking, like, you know, there's many ways you can go about the bans. So if you're like, oh, we don't want Vladi to have a strong mid jungle duo with Yike, Ahri Talia ban makes good sense. I understand that.
For her impact to really be seen in
we're picking Victor.
Oh, they're even taking the Victor away from Vladi.
Oh.
And that's the point about Fearless, right? Like, this is. You might think, oh yeah, but he's already picked his mid laner. This means that they're protected in game 2 for that one, and also.
What would they pick here for support? Rakan maybe? Or.
CFO, we'll see whether that is going to bite them. Of course,
there's a lot of magic damage on the team though.
As Kaiwing thinking what he wants to pick.
Leona, okay, that's a Kaiwing special.
You know, great scaling, great front line, solid engagement.
What would Targamas pick? Don't say that, spam. Don't fucking manifestate that shit. Rakan? Okay. Yeah, Rakan was what I would think would be good with Vi. Like, Mbessa, Vi, Kaisa, like, you want to go in, and Rakan could easily, like, join his teammates.
The repeated nerfs we've seen can still easily get priority in this matchup. Victor into Aurora.
Yeah, like Kaisa, like he has a much harder time. Like I guess like no, Kaisa's pretty strong because he can like self peel and he can like dash around and help.
Especially given that Kaisa doesn't have the
Yo, Pappy, what's up? Thank you for the follow. Has harder executed team comp? Yeah. K-Corp has a pick comp. So pick comp is that they have to find a target, Bai will ult in, Ambessa will ult in, Rakan will jump in, and Kaisa will dash in to help. So that's their comp. Whereas ours is more like general team fighting, where you just like use your ultis and like, you don't have to like catch anyone. You can start a fight immediately, 5 people like crash into each other, and still win. Whereas KC, if they 5-man crash without setup, they can be really bad and really unlucky.
And this is the first time we get to see them. CFO, I think, are going to give us a lot of information as to what their power level is.
Let's go, CFO! If you could give a like on my YouTube stream, I would greatly appreciate it. Any little bit helps.
I was walking around outside. I'm like, which country am I in?
Yeah,
like,
the Blue Wall, they're a dedicated fan base. They will follow the team through thick and thin. You got to remember last year, KC 10th.
Let's go, dude. I'm ready, dude. I'm so excited.
I mean, exactly. They ended up winning their first split this year, and you're gonna hear the KC chants pretty consistently.
Jesus, dude, they're loud. We can hear them.
It's different to what the fan chants normally are.
It's almost like I'm back at home.
Okay.
I will be honest.
Yeah, you got your little bit, and then we're just both now extraordinarily comfortable as we dive onto the Rift.
Maybe here-ish.
Game number 1, CFO making their first stand debut after
Team rooms. Okay.
Of course, PSG Talon being a team.
Press the attack Ezreal. It's not the lethal tempo one. This is best of 3. 3 games. 3 games, guys.
Of course, one of them.
Oh, they have the runes now on the screen. Okay. So they're updating it.
Was unceremoniously dismissed in that final, so it's not Talon, it is indeed.
Oh, I'm already winning the trades. Oh wait, actually, is he losing?
Story for Yikrai being benched by G2.
It's so cool the parallels between these two teams.
Yeah, the rookie mid laners as well, and I mean the believe it or not, very experienced support.
Yeah.
I mean, Targamas, in terms of international experience, he doesn't have a huge amount, right? But it's easy to forget.
Kaiwing has been around the world.
G2. And of course,
Yeah, the UI is still the same, but it's updated a little bit. They changed it. Oh, there's an XP bar as well. You see? Okay. We'll see. We'll see. I don't like the top part, but like the bottom part, upgraded. Good job. Riot's actually doing good. You know, they're listening.
But yeah, I think people are excited to see what a lot of these young players can do, and a fresh.
We're hella winning, dude.
Representing Europe on so many international events.
Yeah, it's very strange being at an international event without G2.
I mean, I will say it was funny seeing no T1, no BLG, no G2 who have been like the mainstays. A lot of new faces really looking to get recognized on the international stage.
It's pretty even so far. Nothing too crazy is happening. Doggo did have to use his health pod, it looks like.
It's fine. You've got someone that you can cheer for almost in every single series, and especially every single series today, as we've got Canna and then we have Impact. So really cool. Anyway, let's have a look at how this bottom lane level 2, and now that Shield of Daybreak is in, but the grand entrance on top
Kaiwing just took a lot of damage. I don't know if that was worth.
Able to lay in a few of these Mystic shots.
A bit of a nice
like,
trade going
Kalista didn't really take that much damage, so that Kai'Sa's still looking pretty healthy.
Junjia pathing towards the bot side of the map. He's in a position to cover in the event of anything happening, or even I don't really expect something. I'm so used to the lane swaps, the early.
Please don't lose.
First cast on the new patch, and I'm like, all right, it's just standard lanes across the boards.
I kind of love it. You know,
it is nice. I'm a big fan.
Because I feel
Kaiwing's taking a lot of poke. He has to be more careful.
Right. I would do it for like
okay.
a whole bunch of time, and then
okay, good.
That it's entirely irrelevant.
Interrupt his W with the Kaiwing Q. That was good, Kaiwing.
The great thing for me is we're really getting to see Kana thrive in this environment, because like we got to see his Camille yesterday, and so many great.
Oh, they know though. They have a ward.
I mean, that's
oh!
For an opportunity here, but he does get pinned down by Targamas and takes a couple of turret shots and some autos and some McCarthy and Rain, and he's not exactly the most psyched about it.
Good use of the W there from Targamas to still get the knock up through. onto Ginger and get the CC
If you are
to
carrying
try and
Doggo's
force him
huge
back
balls,
away. The early back gonna come
yeah,
from
Doggo
Ginger.
is really
Side
aggressive.
rotation is gonna become
Alright, bot lane is pretty even so far.
well. The path towards the
Nothing
backside
too
is
crazy. Like, all lanes are pretty even.
for an early Dragon Earth. Instead, his priority is just getting that push in, providing that security, allowing them to get that wave so that they can go for a back themselves.
And Kaiwing desperately wanting to hold this wave for as long as he can.
Damn, okay.
To deliver over the experience for all of these melees, but these couple are going to be able to come through.
Yeah, he got a lot of that actually.
And the resets are coming in.
Dog only missed
You
one.
can see top lane has yet to go home, but in the mid lane, Honku actually coming back to lane alongside Vladdy, and being able to win out in a couple of these trades really is sort of
I mean, Honky has more items though, so he was able to get a better recall.
we know him for.
Keep your eyes on the mini-map as well, just because of what the supports are up to. You'll notice Kaiwing actually pathing towards bot, gonna shift his path up a little bit more.
The Kaiwing is looking, not too sure where.
The support involvement is a crucial time window. Targamas is in a position, and here come the junglers. Everyone is here in the mid lane.
Yeah, this is a party now.
There's 3 people mid. Vladdy's getting low. Honky's still really healthy.
Honky picking up this wave, and a bit of a reset is going to come through afterwards.
But it's fine. Rumble's still doing well. A little bit down CS, but it's fine. It's not a big deal.
Gets control ward down, moves back down towards Kalist, and we have everything calming down. It's the low park.
Damn, dude. Bot side, like gold. Woo.
You love to see it.
Like, I can do Pokemon Gen 1, Gen 2, but
Okay.
I'm kind of limited.
Ooh, Doggo, you might have went too aggressive there.
Been doing the card game app thingy.
There's a card game app thingy.
Yeah, there is. It's pretty cool. Oh, you get to collect all the cards and stuff. And you do learn about some of the new ones.
The fuck, dude?
The recent card cult gathering that I've been dragged into with Magic.
Oh yeah. I saw that. Because didn't Medic like learn the game or something to? Sorry, no, you learned the game for Medic's birthday. Yeah. That was very
his bachelor
cute.
party. His bachelor party. Yeah.
Sorry, yes. But I'll get something right.
But it is.
He's gotten every trivia question wrong.
Are you a mono red player?
Okay.
I know that because LS used
Honky is level 6. That's good. Mid is... Casey's mid's still level 5. He's about to hit level 6 though. Okay, just hit level 6. Never mind. There's might be a fight around here. Okay, Honky is all... It's a little bit early.
To press that Zenith Blade button.
Okay, they only stole one grub. Not that great. It's fine for us.
So it's a 1-for-1. It will be an advantage gained overall for CFO, but
Like, we used ult and we just got 2 grubs, which is like normal. Like, most teams should try to like take away 1 grub and like run away.
follow on his initiations, whether that be from Kaiwing or him making the play.
Yeah, I mean, like, team comps like scale better than others, right? So I feel like for CFO, the longer the game goes, the better our team comp will be.
Yeah, it actually feels like CFO as well are playing far more reserved than I was expecting.
Yeah.
After what we saw from them, especially in their final, with things not necessarily going super well in the early game, but they just get it together when it comes to later stages.
Yeah, like, I mean, we had really good control over the Void Grub, right?
And they have a composition that is very, very happy.
Yeah, if they had Rumble, they could have like fought, but the thing is that like K-Corp wasn't looking for a fight. They're just trying to look to steal 1 grub, and it's really hard to defend that because, you know, it's just like, yes, like all Yikecasters like walk in, smite 1, and then just walk out.
That style beautifully. I think that we talked about it in draft. The onus of responsibility does fall on KC to execute on that target selection, and I think that was a big problem for them yesterday. Their coordination was
Okay, Targamas is getting poked.
A little bit of damage on the Targamas, but he's not going to be too worried.
So far, so good. Yeah, punishing that. Nice, dude. They know he doesn't have a W. Holy fuck, Vladdy's getting fucking fisted.
The Dragon's actually going to be started off.
K-Corp mid is like losing out on so much health.
In the bot lane, they've been able to get prime.
Like, he has to recall.
Come through, try and chip away at their HP a little bit more, but crucially in the mid lane, Vladdy just
Nice.
losing out on these trades.
Good. Free dragon, free dragon.
You have, especially once you get that upgraded E, it's just so easy for you to push and poke, and the champion can be extremely oppressive against, especially against a champion like Aurora. So nice control in the early game around these objectives from CFO.
Oh! Flashing! Oh, he flashed out! We don't have anything though. There's nothing we can do to kill this guy. Aurora's TPing in, but she's gonna like jump out. Oh, no! You guys are peace! Holy shit! Let's go, dude! Holy shit! Did you see that? That was fun, dude. I thought they're like he was just gonna like get out. Did you turn up the game a touch? Here, 5%. Yeah, like okay. I legit thought like this. I thought was good, right? Whoa, what the fuck was that?
I completely agree with you. I thought that it was a scary situation. Double flashes come through from the KC bottom lane.
Man, like the teleport's coming in, and then I was like, oh, but I didn't realize Ginger here. He flashes and E's, so that way he cannot get out. Just no reaction timing. What the fuck? Try to first stand extension. What the fuck? Oh, that's so cool.
Pretty much lights out.
What the fuck? Was that always a thing? What the fuck?
Not going to be a death nail or anything like that here for the European squad. And we'll just have to see whether they can get themselves back into it because they need to.
Good early game so far, dude. CFO's 1k up. We're 1,000 gold up.
Have such a straightforward front-to-back composition. You play around the Skarner and the Leona. You use them as a wall, and you can chip away at them with the poke that you have.
Okay.
The Victor E, the
It's still not over yet. It's still not over yet, but things are looking really good. Damn, Doggo's really going ham. Oh!
The solar flare and
Doggo does not give a fuck.
in response, but when you arcane shift forward like that, it does hurt my brain, you know, because he was so incredibly confident.
Ward grubs are up.
He didn't even have a ward in the brush.
Yeah.
It's just
I was like, there could be a Vi there.
That could have been a Vi there. But hey, he knew he had his team behind him. He felt confident and he trusted them. And that trust ended up
Everyone seems to have ulti. Leon doesn't have ulti though, but it shouldn't be a problem. There should be 3 grubs for CFO. There's no dragon. There's nothing that they can do. They can probably push bot a little bit, but that's about it. Dude, CFO's out-rotating them. Dude, they're getting fucked. Okay, they get 1 plate bot, right? And like some minions, but we get 3 grubs. That puts us at 5, which is big. And it's not like they can dive us. They can't dive bot lane. Victor has perma lane prio. Honku is actually showing up. He's up 400 gold. What the fuck?
Just isn't really a thing. And then on the bottom side of the map, Doggo as well, Mystic Shot going to be able to outrange.
It's only Rest that's like behind in gold, but he's only down like 200 gold. Or not even. He's catching up right now. He's down like 150 or something. That's crazy, dude. Like he's gonna like, he's like free farming. He's gonna fuck them up, you know. Rumble's gonna get big and strong. Gonna be fucking nasty.
She actually just selects someone.
Oh, we got 2 platings bot. Woo! Damn, dude.
Yes, and crucially, others, even if a target is selected, that individual can still select where you end up. So if Ezreal presses E and flash, your destination is no longer...
Yeah, 2 platings mid as well? No, just 1, right? That's a... No, yeah, that's a fort. It's just 1. It's just 1.
You know, back in the day when I used to scrim, back in Season 3, okay, I was a jungler, right? And what my teammates used to say is that I'm doing what's known as the Jarvan effect, which is
I'm Jarvan, I'm helping.
The EQ flash R, and you've engaged, and then you turn back and you see your team on the horizon.
Yeah, when people do that, it's so bad. But people still do that shit to this day. Oh, Ginger might be in trouble.
There was a beautiful Samuel Broadley moment back in the OPL with that exact
Oh
situation.
wait, never mind.
I certainly understood all of this. Shout out to Spooks.
Rest losing lane? Yeah, but it's Mbessa.
Back into this game because we do have a dragon spawning in 10 seconds time. Going to be a Cloud coming up next. Let's see what soul we're going to get.
Mbessa usually does well in lane, right? Even against Rumble?
To contest this, especially given that Kana has made his way down.
He's only down like 150 gold. That's not much.
Have a lot of damage at his disposal.
Oh. Oh, see? That's what I'm talking about. Like that pick. The 3-man. Oh, the Skarner, you know? Uh-oh. Is anyone else able to follow up? This is a 2v4.
KC are on the wrong side of the map with not a whole lot of health bar to speak of. Yike, able to get
Oh,
himself out of there, but
missed.
over that wall immediately. Not a lot of damage.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Nice. Can they punish anything else? Aurora has a TP.
Tidied up around this map.
Ooh.
It's a decent pick to start things off, but I don't think they had much of a plan after that.
I mean, the combo from Junji
That was close.
devastating.
If we needed one or two more people to be there. But 1-for-1 trade is fine.
Completely turned the tides in.
Okay. Uh-oh. Ambessa.
Should be a sitting duck, but does manage to get the CC.
Oh.
He'll take out the Leona, but now Doggo
But wait, can Doggo turn this around? Doggo?
All of them hitting. He's under the turret. He has the barrier.
Ah, so close.
Out of there as well, but Doggo, yep, no, we got the message.
Kana able to salvage that situation after the dive comes through from CFO. A lot of trading back and forth.
Things are okay. Things are okay. Yeah, right here, like Kaiwing and Doggo were kind of split, right? So here they 4 engaged on 1. Oh, they were trying to kill Kalist. Yeah, that Rumble maybe could have been a little bit better. Yeah, but like they weren't able to catch up. Because that was a really bad play by KC. If CFO was able to punish that, it would have been huge. But still, like getting 1-for-1 is fine. And we were able to punish that and get the top and push in.
Yeah, I think definitely not a...
And we got Dragon, it looks like.
Signs of life from KC are going to be great because they need to keep pulling this trigger over and over again. As we can see, I imagine there's a lot of mixed emotions in our crowd here in LOL Park right now.
Yeah, they're not sure if they should be cheering or crying. We're up 1.7k. That's actually pretty big.
Always a positive to take away from every situation. And hey, it's only a
We're in a really good spot. 2 dragons, 5 grubs, and we're gonna get Rift Herald, it looks like. We have all of our ults, except for we're missing Leona ult. It can be a little bit rough. If we wait a little bit, maybe it'll be better. Oh, Doggo, that's not good. You can't lose half your health like that. Ooh. Is Yike gonna be able to steal it? Okay. Oh, what the fuck is Doggo doing? Doggo's so passive. Get in there, Doggo. Oh. Ah, fuck. I think Doggo fucked up really hard there.
Doggo forced out of the fight quite early means that he wasn't able to distribute a lot of...
I could be wrong. I'd have to look at the replay.
With the numbers advantage that KC have, that small edge enough to win up. You saw even with that numbers advantage how close the fight still was.
It was really close.
Did a lot of damage onto the backline. And again, in terms of the actual execution, things just didn't quite go the way that...
I'm not sure like how bad things are. Yeah, he was way too passive. Like I felt like everyone else got, yeah, like here Doggo, like watching him, like he's like really far away. Honky and Doggo are going in, like he eased out, like he flashes out, but I don't think there's anything there trying to punish him. So now it's like a 4v5 or 3v5 because K-Corp's comp is just to delete one person, right? If they kill one person, that's their comp. So if Doggo doesn't help, they cannot punish because they have to use everything to kill one person. So essentially you have to win 4v5. But if Doggo isn't able to be there, then it's 3v5.
Where the eye was going to be at and couldn't find it, and that was because, yeah, like you say, the Herald not even picked up at all. And so now, finally, it is going to go over to Junjia. So that means that this mid-outer turret could be going down, but they could also throw it here towards the top side.
Damn, dude.
With his little voidlings having a pretty good time.
Top tower's going down really fast. 5 grubs is huge.
And with the fact that
yeah, I think he was like preemptive.
all of these objectives,
like there was a lot going on, but I think it's like fine. Like Doggo, it's like one bad play by Doggo this whole game, you know.
But isn't going to be able to find any joy. But he's
the thing is, Doggo was playing really aggressive before that.
He will press that button.
Certainly will. I mean, I love the confidence that we're seeing from both Kaiwing and Junjia. Like they're engaged consistently finding onto the right targets. As you rightly said, in the previous fight, locking down...
Are you to ride it? No, we're not. Okay. Good damage mid. TP flank coming in.
That's a deep flank. That is a really deep flank. And then you've got the opposing flank to come in from Kana. That was really cool. Looked like, you know, they were pulling shapes on the map here, but it didn't really result.
What's the two next to the kills? Towers. Two towers, 4 kills, 32,000 gold for CFO. And then underneath that, there's like Grubs, Herald. I don't know what the fuck that is. And then there's defeat the strength, so we got upgraded boots. Yeah, it's like rotates. It's kind of weird. I don't like that it rotates. I like the old layout. I thought it was fine. Like you can add on to it. I didn't think you had to like reinvent it. Oh, he's getting caught out. That's not good. He has to flash out. Is Rest able to do much to punish? No. Rumble ulti? Rumble ulti? Okay, that's a pretty good Rumble ulti. Nice punish. Okay. So scared, dude. I'm so fucking nervous right now.
Vi locking down the Rumble, but Targamas goes for the back line. He sees an angle where he can lock up the two carries and they can turn it around. But Yike has already used his ultimate. The only real
Dragon is up.
Came through from Kalist, and it just wasn't enough. So CFO
They able to punish that? Like here, like they went in on Kaiwing, right? Which normally is really bad because they used up a lot. But because Rest wasn't there to help follow up, I think that was kind of caused problems as well. Yeah, they go on to Rest, but he just flashes out. Targamas went on the wrong target. Yike went in too deep and got punished. Dude, we're on Dragon's Soul Point. Holy shit. Dude, why is CF like... Okay, so the gold is kind of close. The kills are kind of close, right? But we have gotten every single objective. Rift Herald, Void Grubs, Dragon. Like, that's really bad plays by KC. Harming Corp should not be letting that happen.
Like that mediates the nerf. You know, the Q damage is going to be absolutely fine. Don't you worry.
I mean, this is the thing, right? It's an interesting discussion.
I'm very nervous.
Champions, right?
And you can do that now because we're in a pause.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly why I'm going.
That's beautiful.
I learned from the best. I mean, I learned from the best.
And you are in the seat.
Seamless transitions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, gorgeous.
So when it comes to champions, we know that pro players, they see a patch note and they go, "Well, champ's dead."
Yep.
Right. It is the classic. Okay. And I mean, you know, Riot have even said themselves that they will do placebo buffs. You know, we'll give 5 attack damage, 5 movement speed to a champ, just so that it reminds people that this champ is in the game. And then people give it a go and they're like, "Oh wow, this champ is really great." And we're like, "Yeah, it was that 5, whatever we gave them." And I think that when you see Skarner getting these nerfs, people immediately go, "Oh, champ's dead." But you got to remember that the base kit of the
they're still doing the job.
still just very strong.
This arena isn't too intimidating. There's like 200 people in there. Plus there's a bunch of people outside.
And so far we've seen
and like the lobbies and like shit. Yeah, there's a lot of K Corp fans.
He is just...
What the fuck? 2 top players still not enough to defeat Kana? What the fuck are you saying, bitch?
Prevented KC members from moving due to the excessive crowd control that has been implemented.
Dude, it's gonna be so funny, dude. Where's their tears?
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that particular way of CCing someone has been explained in more explicit terms.
Quite right.
You can talk to Ejim about
it.
We accidentally...
One of the guys told him to shut the fuck up.
And we're not going to say it.
Get fucked, bitch.
Former OPL fans, you may remember, and I'm not going to repeat.
We have more information. We will, of course, share it with you.
Yeah, we haven't actually been caught up with too much of what's happened here, but I imagine that we will be getting back in as soon as possible.
Might I just
in
say,
fact,
by
I
the
can
way,
see some stuff happening
before
on the
we
screen.
get there, but this arena is absolutely lovely.
It's gorgeous.
Oh, what's going on? Is this live?
I really
No, dude, it's just fans.
And it's a really nice arena.
Yeah, we're live. We're back. We're back.
No, I didn't. And in fact,
are you gonna throw it Otacon?
reason why we have an English broadcast that's here in the arena.
That's awesome.
So we can thank Papa Smithy, but that's still not.
That's still.
Why did I say Rest doesn't have flash or TP? What the fuck happened?
Bringing us the joy that you always do whenever you jump onto the caster desk.
Is that just a timer bug?
EU is quite stressed at the moment, so they're going to need some of that joy almost immediately because the game is slipping away from KC. And as a reminder, this is a really important game for KC, especially given that their game's
Okay.
easier.
Yeah, Callista, he had full health.
Yike. They're trying to go on Doggo. Oh! Doggo still has flash as well, bitch! Good, good! What was that? Get fucked!
But of course, he's smacked into the wall and taken down. Down here for Honkyu as well.
That's Otacon, baby! That's Otacon! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! CFO, 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 CFO.
We've been getting a lot of Ruinuses. I actually was looking forward to my first Ruinus Otacon, and we don't get it. It's just going to be the Voracious version, and we are going to get the GAs.
Victor's ult is kind of weird. It doesn't feel like it hurts, but it hurts a lot.
And this is the GA that we've got. I really want a Rod of Ages, man.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully. I mean, it's a long day still.
That is true.
Oh,
Based on how this game
let's
is
go.
going, I know that a lot of EU is hoping that this goes all the way.
Like, they went on, like, look at Doggo. Look how aggressive he's playing. Look at that, dude. He E's, he flashes, and now they're just fucked.
So good from Rest, and the follow-up damage just isn't quite.
And nobody's there to help, like, follow up.
And this is the problem.
They can't kill him. That's why Doggo is playing aggressive. Doggo is baiting that, dude. 200 IQ. So good.
The rest of the group is going to rejoin with their team, and in the front to back, it's way easier for CFO to execute. And I think we saw this very similarly yesterday with Team Liquid. When you draft these very traditional, easy to execute front to back compositions, it takes a lot of the burden of responsibility away. And I think CFO is really benefiting from that.
Yeah, we've actually seen this in international competition throughout the years, right? It's if it's your first game, if nerves are a factor,
Listen, that's, you know, listen, we will forgive. As long as we win in the end, it doesn't matter how we get there. Rest is the master baiter. He's just baiting to death. Okay. Oh!
But Vladdy, he's real dead. That's actual dead. And so that 1-for-1 is not going.
What the fuck? The Scorpion looks cool. Dude, Scorpion champion is fucking OP. People are saying that it's not OP anymore, but like in pro play, it's still looking pretty strong.
So quick, they're able to avenge their top laner. And what?
Is Rest in trouble again? No, he's not. He has backup. Callista's dead. Where are you going? Oh, Flash. Run, 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 run! Oh, down you go!
And CFO are really starting to run away with this game now.
I mean, from start to finish, I think they've.
I think KFC just lost their minds. He's nerfed, still brings utility. Yeah. Like I feel like his E and alt are just too OP. I don't know about this. We're just getting poked out by Baron. Yeah, okay. We're doing Dragon. We're resetting in Dragon. I like this way more. This is actually really smart. Don't 50-50 Baron. Just take Dragon Soul, and then you can win the game like 10 times easier. It's all good. It's all good. Kaiwing maybe should have gone back and gotten more wards, but he still has 20. No, he has 20 seconds. It's not that much time.
Even if you kill him, I feel like at this
Oh, he's TPing. Pushed out top, he's TPing.
But all of the threats scale incredibly well. Maybe not necessarily the Rumble as much.
Okay.
Been playing it exceptionally.
Okay.
Okay, they don't land the solar flare.
Oh, nice. They're trying to go on Doggo, but they can't! They can't! They can't! Let's go, dude! It's happening! Bye-bye! Au revoir, dude! Let's go! Dude, let's go, man! Why are CFO so good? Look at this, dude! Like, he just, like, slams them into the wall and grabs both of them. Oh, that Rumble all on top. Dude, look, Doggo, like, they have to go in on Doggo, and they can't. They have no more damage.
Look at the range. Yeah, it's not fair at all. It's not fair there whatsoever. KC, they're just systematically torn apart.
Dude,
CFO
like,
playing with nothing but
K-Corp's comp has to go in.
I mean, they're looking
Nice sir!
It's looking clean. You can understand why there's excitement here. As
Dude, they kind of look nervous though. Dude, the guy in the chair, Kenny, he's like, our deep power, he's like sitting there.
It's just that they're both
I'm like, dude, he's like so, he's like trying to be calm, dude.
use of substitution.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you, especially as a long-time LCK commentator, have seen these multi-man rosters kind of prove to not be that effective.
Dude, Hongkyu is level 16. Vladdy's level 14. He just hit level 14. That's crazy. Oh wait, we got Baron as well?
No, I actually think that it's going to get more.
Damn.
I also think that coaches are going to be more and more important moving forward. Understanding exactly what combos are available as you get to a game 5 is massive task. With all of the
At times you can say that, but
that stage. We're talking about
I think Ginger and Kaiwing both see the game like differently, but they see different things, but they understand what to do. Like they're both like trying to find these pick angles, right? And it's all about like being able to set it up better together. Because yeah, Res is doing a pretty good job like following what Junja wants to do, right? Or following what Kaiwing wants to do. But Junja and Kaiwing both need to like find what they want to do to help make sure everyone's like all on the same page. But so far, I feel like it's been pretty fine.
Who his target's going to be, I have no idea.
Yeah, look at the positioning of Doggo right now as well. Playing comfortably behind.
Damn, dude.
He's even saying, go after Hongkyu. It's fine.
Daddy Dominate, do whatever you want, man, but listen, don't ask me those kinds of questions. You're not gonna fucking get a good answer. I'm fucking CFOing all the way, baby. Doesn't matter. Look at this.
But look at this poke. KC just have nothing to offer back. We mentioned that range before, but when you have this kind of range advantage and then just a massive lead, it's just
wow, the towers went down just because of the minions? Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, they're so fucked. They have no way to start this fight. I mean, they could, but they are gonna lose. Yo, Mutzmuth, what's up?
But they're gonna have to try and pull the trigger soon.
Yeah. Or it's decide on what to do in game 2.
Oh, they have to flash that. Oh, another flash. Yike is ulting Skarner. I mean, okay, Skarner dies, but Yike is dead. Doggo is just free to hit them because they have no more abilities. Look at that. Look at that. Oh. Let's go! CFO, baby! Hey, CFO! What's up? Game 1, dude! That's what I'm talking about!
Driven by Junja, a player that loves
hell yeah, dude!
I mean, he used their prio incredibly well.
Dude, let's go, dude!
Absolutely amazing stuff there from CFO. It is time to hear from the desk. Where is the KC?
Red side next? Yeah, probably. Give Gnar? I don't think Gnar's that good. Damn, what a squad! Oh, I need to pee real bad. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab a drink as well. Oh wait, why am I muting my mic on Discord? I'm not even on Discord. I'm more nuts. BRB, guys!
Get a browser built for League fans. With a custom UI, exclusive themes, and seamless LoL esports tournament integration. Follow every play, see every result, get access to exclusive contests, rewards, and co-streaming options. Only on the browser for legends. Only on Opera GX.
Future, but see profit here. We gon' always win. Promise that that's not a promise.
watch me do it again.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Give me some of that wow. Move to the beat, drop down. Feel it in your body, let it out. Give me some of that, give me some of that wow. Give me some of that wow. Move to the beat, drop down. Feel it in your body, let it out. Give me some of that wow. Give me some of that wow. Move to the beat, drop down. Feel it in your body, let it out. Give me some of that wow.
Here, Poppy, why don't you take my keys and go for a ride?
Welcome, Stella.
So you talk.
Stella?
Almost. What's next? Bright blue. It's bold.
Sorry, hon.
I'm hungry, actually. Your favorite, right?
How did you know?
Motivation. Yeah. Try to stop me, yes.
Motivation. 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 I can't lose, no, I won't quit. I won't quit. Got the juice, yeah, I'm so sick. I'm so sick. All night, no days off. Days off, it going hard. It's the payoff. Payoff. Yeah, I train like a troop do. In the rain, in the snow, the dirt too. No excuses, gotta get it, gotta pay the price. Cause you can't make it to the top without sacrifice. One life, you know how we do it, we kill it. Taking no losses, we started, we finished. I came from the bottom, I'm here, I'm relentless. Live without fear, dream with no limit. Now I'm in the big league, they ask how I did it. Not overnight, grinding from the beginning. Now we popping bottles, it's over, we lit it. We got the victory, really, it's the moment of a lifetime. It's on me, I used all my lifeline. But I'm fine. Opportunity of a lifetime. Can't stop, gotta give it all right now. Opportunity of a lifetime, lifetime, yeah. You know how we do it, we kill it. Taking no losses, we started, we finished. I came from the bottom, I'm here, I'm relentless. Live without fear, dream with no limit. Now I'm in the big league, they ask how I did it. Not overnight, grinding from the beginning. Now we popping bottles, it's over, we lit it. We got the victory, really this motivation. 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 It's the moment of a lifetime. It's on me, I used all my lifeline. Yeah, opportunity of a lifetime. Can't stop, gotta give it all right now. Opportunity of a lifetime, lifetime. It's the moment of a lifetime. One lifetime. It's on me, I used all my lifeline. Yeah, opportunity of a lifetime. Can't stop, gotta give it all right now. Wake up in the morning. Motivation. I'ma keep on coming, yeah. Motivation. Tell them keep on hating, yeah. Motivation. Tell them keep on hating, yeah. Motivation. 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 It's the moment of a lifetime.
Oh, okay. Yeah, dude, that was clean, dude. That was actually really good. Like, fights are like 50-50 at times, but what's it called? Objectives was 100% CFO. And like, We did a good job countering their comp. Like playing our comp, smart. This was a bad fight, but I feel like as the game went on, we just like understood like what they're doing and how to beat that. What? Wait, what? You showed off one good play from them, but not us? Whatever, we won. Who cares?
And welcome back to First Land 2025.
Laura. Dude, I love Laura, dude. She's so funny, dude.
I have ascended as a sad
She's like French and like, you know, the European French. The team is European French. Ugh.
Guys, I think about this series. First things first, we said it was a Trongia team. I feel like that's exactly what we got here. With this corner, I did not expect the pick to be that strong, especially after the nerf that it got in previous patch, but you cannot stop the man in the early game.
Yeah, he looked great, and he went bottom lane for their first blood. The Skarner ultimate on 2 under tower blows everything from the KC bottom lane, and then once you see the teleport started, you know it's doomed. And on arrival here, Kai Wing's gonna set up.
I thought like he was just gonna get out when he teleported in. But Ginger played that really well.
From this team, basically all game long.
Right here, baby. I'm the cheerleader.
In so many of these fights, and I thought they also drafted really well and a lot better, and they gave themselves so many more options, plus taking away future options from KC. So honestly, CFO, I'm like, that is everything you want in game number 1 for this series. They did
so good, dude.
Yeah, pretty much perfect. I mean, there's not really a lot of notes for them. You know, they played it very slowly. They waited until they had great fights that were set up by Jinjia. It was basically just wait for the Skarner to do things, and yeah,
engage company's high level execution. Casey's feeling under huge pressure. P engage comp. Yeah, or pick comp. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
If you give him a champion like that.
And Honky on his debut playing Victor, I feel like it's the kind of champion that you want to see him on. Easy-ish to.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna bring in
face. I feel like they
Meander.
As you said, Kobe. On this side of Casey though.
Okay.
The fights were close up until the points.
Do you want me to switch to YouTube to sync better?
To do with the composition they were playing.
Yeah, I mean, KC,
hello?
obviously, they
hello?
went full dive, but they went full dive.
CFO!
CFO! Let's go, Oysters!
Yay!
Like you said, Victor is actually very good.
That was
engaging on you. So is
glorious.
Skarner. So is Ezreal. So I just like the drafting was really good. From
I'm on YouTube so we can sync a lot easier.
This is one of the examples.
But that game was so good, dude. Like at first it was like the Rift Herald or the Grubs fight was kind of like messy with Doggo like jumping out really early. But after that, like Doggo was like, you know, he stepped up. Yike ulted him, he E'd out and flashed out, and then just like completely fucked. Like that was a really smart play by him, like baiting that. Oh yeah, you're right. They do predictions.
Not scared at all. They immediately, you know, get their counter off, and then you know that one turned into Dragon. Then the next one turns into Otacon, and all
you say that they are watching on YouTube?
Yeah, the game is
yeah, so that way we can sync better. Like have the same timestamp.
To assassinate a target, but if you're trying
like if one of us is too early, we can just pause and sync up better.
Well, you're already too far behind, but this is what you have to do, so it looks kind of silly you fall on your face, but you can't really blame them for it because
I think CFO will be on red side.
And now, since
drivers in,
use already the Victor and Ezreal with Fearless,
I mean,
now it's like, oh, Vladdy, you know,
you and A teams like being on red side. Like as far as like I remember that one graphic that said that
super high prow is going to be off the table as well. So
that Casey and Steel actually have the higher win rate on red side.
Oh.
On my side, I see some improvements, I want to say, from yesterday. Maybe in terms of coordination, maybe...
That's weird, yeah, like, in Asia, it's blue, 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 blue all the way.
Yeah.
Like, getting that first pick and Fearless, like, you can do some nasty things.
But you have to go back to the
and I feel like teams don't utilize counter pick that well.
Because I don't feel like this is the type of combo presentation here, I know. I don't feel like it's the type of combo that you want to see on this patch, and as we said...
Match engage comp. I mean, it works okay, but
so maybe something easier to execute for them next game.
I just think they weren't executing it well. Like I just think it's a really hard team comp to play.
I probably don't want to see any more Vi for KC or Yike in general.
Good news, we can't.
Yeah, that type of stuff. Like
no, I'm not that smart.
Sejuani game, maybe go Sejuani, go for some melee synergies. Try and use some Sejuani skirmishing.
Yeah, it just felt a bit forced. You know, I'd like more options, as you were saying, Laura. I think you have to.
Yeah,
have
I think
helps, you
like
need to have
the
strong
thing I
lead
like about
bases to
our
get there, but
coaches
if
at
you're
like
just like
CFO, like
this,
Chow and
you have
Ruo,
to
is
fall
like
in.
they understand like what CFO is good at, and they just draft to our strength and just play it safe. Like you don't have to go crazy game one. Just pick standard 5v5, no pressure. You know, you can just chill and you'll win the game eventually. Whereas like KC's comp is like, hey, if you don't land these picks, you don't like delete one person, you're just fucked. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Law.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
It's just like I just think it's so good.
Plenty of copium here. I've got Vedius set up and ready.
It's me.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about Aurora and Vi anymore, right? That's what KC got out of the way.
I've become an Aurora hater.
Yeah, Sky Rumble did really well. Like the Mbessa counter pick didn't really punish Rumble that much. Like, he was down like 100 gold. That was it. Hey guys, do you have predictions back up for game 2?
Like Rest did position well when he was on the weak side, like when Yike was actually in position to gank.
Yeah. I think Rest did his job. Like, when Rest is playing, usually it's like, hey, you know, don't die. This is basically it. Like, we're gonna help Doggo and hunk you, so you're not gonna get any help. I don't think we ever ganked top once.
I don't know what her and Talia
Yeah,
are doing.
no, right, sir. I completely agree with you. I think it's kind of like weird. Like the thing I feel about Western teams is that they rely too much on meta thinking. Like I see so many times where like they win with one style in Europe or NA, they come to like Korea, they get shit on, and then they're like, oh, we have to completely change our style, and then they just lose. Because then now they're just a shittier version of the East. Like I never understood that. Like why don't you just play what worked? And if it wins, right? But like at least it's like what got you there. You have a much higher success rate than trying to like learn a brand new style in like 1 or 2 weeks.
During our playoffs. Like,
no.
Yeah, no, that's hysterics for you.
Oh, that's fantastic, though. Shout out to Jake. Really doing.
So yeah, I don't like the K-Corp draft at all. Like I think the draft was okay on paper, but it's obviously we're not doing things on paper. We're like actually having to play them.
Anyway, but not necessarily for Yordles. That's not very nice.
Now, come on, Casey, lock in that Azia. We've got Zyra and...
Oh, KC is on blue side.
What could the Lilia mean? Sejuani, there's the Azib. They saw through us. What?
Yeah, this is like...
Zyra Lilia, man? Dude, Jin just laughing, dude.
So I'm wondering what that necessarily means for, you know, the goals for this draft,
I really think it's Sejuani. It could be Maokai too.
Kasante ban.
Kasante.
Okay. Weird. I think Travis played like 1 or 2 games like Kasante. Because usually it's just given to rest. Yeah, like the tournament's 1 week long. Like it makes no sense. We made like no changes really. Like obviously make small changes depending on the patch. But we didn't like redefine our playstyle, you know? It's pretty much what you saw at LCP. Is what you got. Varus first pick.
So this time round, they've said, you know what?
Our
bot lane have been conceding pressure.
What? Is there a good AD carry still open? I don't think so.
And it is a great champion for getting you that push. They could also early rotate.
Oh, maybe Ashe?
Maybe they want to go for something like the Nautilus. But Braum could be a problematic champion depending on where they choose to lock it in. CFO have a lot of options here. They could grab the Sejuani for themselves. Ginger is more of the carry style.
MF.
Oh, MF. Yeah, I mean that's what Doggo likes.
I don't like this.
Yeah, but it's what Doggo likes.
With Vi gone, I'm curious as to what direction he will actually go here in this draft.
Quite a few options.
I think that picks like these should be really picked on 3 or later because like.
True. Yeah, that's true. They should have picked something else like.
Now Casey just can pick like a more skirmishy comp and just delegate Varus to be on poke duty, and MF doesn't really get that much value.
Yeah. I'm not sure what they'll pick though.
Really?
Yone?
Yone is a good opener.
Yone Maokai maybe? No, Maokai's banned, my bad. Wait, what?
I'm assuming it's for Vladdy.
What would you pick jungle with Yone though?
I mean, they banned Lilia and Zyra.
Yeah, they banned Lilia and Zyra.
Is this a Yike Nidalee game?
No. Oh wait, Nidalee. I don't like it. I don't like it. Chase.
Okay, Chase. Wait, they picked Chase and they banned Casanti?
Yeah.
They just.
I think they banned Cassandra because I don't think they realized that they picked or we have Driver on the team. Did they have to pick MF first? I don't think so. I think they could have picked something else. Like I feel like if CFO picked, I don't know. Chase Sejuani kind of sounds like ass, but.
Fuck, I forgot the emote name. SMH.
Maybe we should change the emote name to Arrive because I think it's Appear.
Yeah.
I feel like a Driver Arrive makes more sense.
But this is once again CFO being like, we don't really mind what
I probably should.
Yeah. But I think the Cyan pick is really smart here. So what, we banned Nidalee? Maybe they have like a secret like mage pick.
That's what they love to do. So I think it's going to be a tricky one. I like the Renata ban. They're actually focusing on the bot side of the map, knowing that, hey, we don't want to concede all pressure. We know we're going to get pushed in on the top side of the map. So we need to get some agency somewhere. So let's remove some of these power supports, and they can now early rotate their support themselves. The question is, what support are they going to ban away the Nautilus? Or maybe they're considering banning away Braum, locking in something like Nautilus for themselves.
Fuck, I'll figure it out later.
Still available. Yep, that was a good one. This Silas ban.
Cyan.
Fantastic.
I think Gragas early is kind of like weird.
Pair well with the
Silas ban?
Silas is the
I wonder if they'll think about it, Nakali.
Yeah, I don't.
I think Silas does make a little sense here, but.
Feel less synergistic, but we have seen it work.
Gonna cheer for the oysters? Yeah, fly oysters, fly, dude. Let's go.
AP junglers that you could go towards.
Renata ban is interesting.
Down on the list.
Yeah, these are
I guess it's so like Kaiwen can pick tank and not have to be too worried. I guess that makes sense. I don't know about Ivern though. Would you pick Ivern here?
Maybe.
Zach's another option.
Or Nidalee.
Is it not turbo ass with like Jace, Yone, and Varus?
I mean,
they banned Braum?
With Yone and Varus, it would have been okay, but Jace is not really.
Maybe Kaiwen picks Rel here.
Uses an answer. Do they just go for the Rel themselves?
Oh yeah, this definitely looks like a Rel angle.
Yeah.
And also counterpick for support is really powerful. Kaiwen can just sort of pick for lane once they see exactly what KC are doing.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of pick mid here and save support last. Talia!
I think that's good. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I think that's really good.
Yeah. That works.
Yeah, oh my god, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah, rocks, simply. I mean, what is...
Does CFO just turbo win draft?
Indeed.
Or might Delulu?
I mean, as well, look at this Wombo combo they've got built for themselves. It's not like crazy.
France is famous for their oysters. Seems they don't know about this oyster though. True!
Brand, okay.
Yeah, I was thinking Brand might come out, but like Brand would make more sense than Nidalee.
No front line now.
When it comes to comfort, this is definitely something that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think CFO's draft is so good. They swap for specific tank carry champ. Yeah, so Scuttle Crab. Driver rest is just based off draft. Usually rest goes first because he has a lot of strong first pick drafts, and like Driver has a lot of more niche picks. So as the game goes on, Kana's champ pool is getting shit on, but like once we swap out rest for Driver, it's like a brand new champion pool. So it's like game 1 draft didn't happen for him. It's really, really OP.
That is 100% true.
Knowledge pick, yeah.
What will the...
Yeah, like Casey's draft seems so ass. Like unless they do like hard win early game, I feel like it's just GG. Yeah, and there's the Rel, Kaiwen. Like they got like, in my opinion, CFO just got everything they would want, and this is like the best comp.
Great thing about this composition as well.
Like Casey, like I don't know, man. I don't know how you win unless CFO just runs it down level 1.
And kind of fight over these neutrals. It seems very powerful.
But like I'm hella biased, right? So that's why I'm like I don't know, dude. Like to me, it's like such a hard winning comp for CFO.
I mean, yes, as long as carries don't get big, like as long as it seems like as long as CFO like gets the first engage, they should be kinda good.
Yeah.
it's been difficult for him to really get the ball rolling, and you can attribute that
Man,
to
dude.
Casey not having winning lanes.
Because
Let's
like
go.
if Honkyu or Doggo gets called out, it's like an insta loss.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
reality is that Yike isn't having the best tournament so far, and it's going to be crucial for him in this game to have impact if Casey want to turn the series around.
Yeah, and I do think that this is the best way for them to do it, right? I actually think that as far as Casey in this series is concerned, this is the draft that's looking more
Easy win. Yeah, fly, oysters. What the fuck? Dude, why does that kind of look like me, except more handsome? It's like a fat baby, dude. What the fuck? Saw baby me there.
Well, absolutely pear-shaped face. I loved it.
Yo, morning. You're in time for game 2, baby. Oh, let's go, dude. Okay, I'm at 42, 43, 44, 45. Are you around the same time as me?
Wait. Can you
Oh,
do it
50,
again?
51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56.
Okay, now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, nice, perfect. We're in sync. Oh, fuck, dude.
And see hero, kill hero is an EU quote.
Wait, Brand has fucking, what's that rune called?
We're gonna go 4 damage dealers.
Fuck, I forgot the name.
Wait,
Fuck.
I need to actually. Oh, Conqueror.
Yeah, Conqueror, that's what it is. Yeah. Why did you have Conqueror on Brand? Wouldn't you go like Arcane Comet or like Scorch or something?
Much better if you catch CFO on an objective. You're throwing piercing arrows and shock blasts and all this.
Oh my god, Kylan's jumping in.
We're fighting already.
And I think what's crucial is that KC, I think, have themselves a
Kevin doesn't know his runes? Yeah, I'm fucking fraud, dude. All I know is how to make teams that do well at at first stand.
Already missed 2 CS.
Oh shit.
What Honkyu is diffing. One minute more.
As Jace is just going to be given.
Damn, dude, Honky's so good.
Good tournament so far.
He's a great Jace player too.
Exactly, it's one of his comfort picks.
Just give Connor Jace, everything else is perfect. Yeah.
To do his thing.
I get that, but like to me, like it doesn't make sense in a team comp to have Connor play Jace into like Scion, for example.
I guess Scion will just become unkillable as well.
Yeah,
so
precisely.
There is. It doesn't feel like the same kind of timer that we had the last time around. I feel.
I mean, it definitely seems like you want to go tank here as Jace.
Just with the raw amount of damage that
Yeah, but isn't tank Jace really bad now?
Oh, Jace got nerfed in this patch?
It was like a patch or two ago.
Ooh, look at this.
Yeah, Blue Side League is pretty OP. Oh!
Okay.
Where are you going? You're flashing!
Oh, he missed the hook. Kalista is absolutely wrist in pepperoni.
First blood, CFO, dude. Oh, so good. Let's go, dude. Let's go.
A little bit of a jungle diff, am I right?
I don't know, man. I was looking at Twitter and everyone told me that CFO is just wasted and trash. And even though Jinja played well in LPL, that doesn't matter because we don't know. Maybe Ike would have played well in LPL as well. Zoom tight. Let's go spectator curse. Stop, dude. Back off.
That was a Q. That was a brand Q.
Yeah, it really resonates me the way he goes. Ugh.
Yeah, right.
What the fuck, hysterics?
Yeah. Every word he says is exactly what you need to hear.
Oh, I love this guy.
Was
that a miss or a sidestep?
Both. I think all misses.
I don't know. Wiki says that his last nerf was 14-18. Like he still does have like the insane damage on E melee.
I was told that Jace tank isn't good anymore. I could be wrong. Yo, Googly Boogly, welcome. Let's go. CFO.
He's continuing that momentum here at this tournament. a lot of the conversation that
Yeah, like, cause like, I don't play solo queue, so I just have to take the words of like players and like what's going on in the meta.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's why
I've been playing a lot of Arena.
Hey, hello, Moon.
To seeing him perform throughout the rest of the tournament, as so far CFO find themselves with a first.
It's kind of okay. Oh, he's gonna go back. It doesn't matter.
He's good enough.
Because you mentioned like
Is Driver gonna raise it on him?
He's playing these tanks and stuff like that. I think it still is.
It's still about him.
It's still about him, but it's him controlling his damage dealers, being in
think he's
exactly the
frozen.
right place to utilize them effectively.
Yeah, looks good.
It's like that hand-holding thing, you know, because like you sit there and like, oh wow, yeah, you guys are doing a really good job getting all the kills, and then you look at the gold lead, he's
Gordon's mail first?
It's just like that. It's that idea of he's.
I don't know about that.
That you're the carry, when in reality,
He is the guy. Yeah, at least this bottom side is going a little bit better. Outside of that first blood, of course. But,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know either.
A little bit more effectively.
Yeah, like I
mean,
just
he's
stopped
not
seeing it
feel
completely.
frozen
So
hard from it.
Be all right after these teleports come in. You can see already health bar advantage.
like it, cause Unending Despair got nerfed, and that was like the big item that helped Jace tank top.
Probably about 0. I mean, Scion players are like that. You know, like as soon as you have that Scion player DNA, the result of the game
Oh, he stunned himself anyways.
really a thing that you care about that much.
Wow,
At
okay.
least the result of the laning phase.
Oh!
As Junji are gonna have to flash away from that one. Last second.
Driver is pretty low on HP.
Oh!
That's it. Oh, he's going in, and he missed.
I don't know why he went in 1v4 there, but
I mean,
yeah, oh yeah, dude, that's true. The boss fucked Kana over in solo queue.
Alright, Junji with some information as that ward goes over the wall, immediately spotted out. And
Driver is very, yeah, he's very low. He has double cookies though.
That's true. He should be fine. Order of Lockcam Doggo gapping EU prodigy.
Wait, Doggo plays on Lockcam?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably true. She used to turn into
He plays a lot. It's so weird.
That explains a little bit.
Yeah, he's gotten better over the years, but like, yeah.
Even last the game just to see the enemies.
And so if you were the kind of player that would want to go into the middle of a team fight, press all of your buttons and die, she was the best champion ever, which is why I loved her. She was brilliant.
Oh yeah, we're gonna give all 3 grubs. I don't like that, but maybe kind of have to. She's just not level 6 yet. Oh, he just hit level 6. Yeah, he unlocks a bit, but yeah, it's majority locked. Yeah, that's probably Doggo's biggest weakness.
Meaning that you don't even necessarily need to fight for the next round if you don't feel like it, and they can put their focus towards the dragon that hasn't been taken.
Nice poke. Okay.
He
Targamas?
doesn't have aftershock yet.
Oh, nice, Doggo!
Oh, the
Oh, the angle was a little bit off. It would have been a double kill. That would have been huge.
Exactly what CFO want. It is more money on misfortune.
Oh.
It's Junji's world.
Damn, dude.
You know what I mean? The man gets level
Doggo used Callis to get the pop or the double up off.
And he makes another play happen. This man is just so proactive on the map. He finds another advantage for CFO, building a lead to nearly 1,000.
Yeah, like Driver's only down like 100 gold as Scion into Jace.
He has popped his pot, and that man is not losing HP.
Yeah, Kaiwing is playing really well today.
On the hook, this one going to connect onto a minion. Targamas really just wanted to take that one down and deliver.
I think he only had like 1 int moment.
Which for him is pretty good.
Yeah. Like so far, like Kaiwing's engagements have been really on point.
Situation that is so difficult for KC to deal
Ginger
with.
playing well international. Yeah, we're winning this first 10 champs. Yeah, I told you it's coach gap.
Or oh wait, that's probably BT, right? It was probably going BT.
Yeah, Doggo's going BT.
Something has to give this time.
BT builds off pickaxe.
Yeah, it doesn't give crit anymore.
Whilst also winning every skirmish and being everywhere on the map, and that should never happen. That's just sort of illegal.
That first item spike, I think, is going to be crucial for KC. Once they've got that
Yeah, I don't know about Driver's build, but like I guess it's fine if he just builds armor in general. He'll be fine.
Very significant in the ensuing fight. So far, they're a little bit ways off.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking like, what crit is he mitigating here?
Yeah, like because it's gonna be Randuin's, right? Yeah, nobody crits. That's why I'm just like confused.
It has to be Randuin's. He has a Ruby Crystal at this point.
Yeah.
It's cheating a little bit because it's so cheap, but it's still first item.
FFK misery. Hey man, it's okay. So we can't be happy all the time. Today we will be happy, hopefully.
And that was a train.
That was.
Driver is he worried yet? I would be.
He popped a pot and he stopped taking damage. He's fine.
One pot.
I guess he isn't. He's also got a biscuit, which is just.
That is good damage onto Kai Wing. The pings to retreat coming through from CFO.
Kind of look at the NE versus EU buff.
He's close to level 9 though. Here we go.
Yeah, Winter's Wrath.
I don't like the fact that we're giving up so many objectives though.
I mean, Kalista can just ult him, right?
It's
Dago, but he has like no follow-up because Jinja just ulted the right person, and okay, because he flashes out. Argamas is just shit on.
Oh!
Oh, Honkyu!
Does that do anything? It kind of does.
It does.
Nice, Honkyu! Wow, dude.
Oh.
We have a monopoly on kills this game.
4 kills.
So aggressive.
Kai Wing has set his sights onto Kalist. I think he wisely will back away. But the target focus from KC
Oh, he's grading?
to just be off.
He's grading? And he will get away with it.
How the target selection is just... The priorities just don't seem to be there.
Damn.
One person diving onto Doggo, you've got another pair diving off into the river, and then the moment that a CFO regroup, it becomes an easy execute, so they secure the
I don't like the objective control of this game, but yeah, look at them, dude. They're so split.
On the right, you've got an engage onto Doggo. So many resources are committed, and then a quick TP.
They had to all flash and shit. Oh.
Easy numbers advantage where they get that pick onto Targamas. They convert
Yeah, this is crazy. Yike sees him as well. Wow. Dude, I like that from like Honkyu. Like, he's not playing scared, dude. That's crazy. I thought he was gonna shit his pants at game 1. You know, that was one of my biggest fear. But he's playing so well.
Where's scheduled? Scheduled is like in 10 seconds.
Yeah. They want to deny at least one grub. Oh, they're not.
They kinda look to fight this. Oh, that's a huge ult, but there is nothing to follow it up.
Oh!
Oh, Honkyu just like stepped back. And the tanks are just like 2v4ing them. Holy shit.
Oh!
That is ridiculous.
Oh, Cunningham got out. Fuck, dude, Doggo was so looking for it.
Man, this could have been such a better team fight as well.
Not 1-1. No.
Is still ruthless in these 5v5s. You can see how aggressive they're willing
There
to
we
be.
go.
Now with a 1K goal lead
Oh, geez, though, you got it. You understand.
Like, Honkyu is like positioning to zone Vladdy
Yeah.
here. And like, he does zone Vladdy nicely, but like, if he got the flip onto
The Brando
here,
was
like,
so big. Yeah, if he was there to help follow up, that would have been like really good. It was a really good engagement by Kai Wing, but we were kind of split.
They can't quite convert it into another kill, but they came very close. 2 kills for 1, I believe, with the grubs going in favor of KC.
Yike is 6, 17, and 12 at first hand. Damn.
Outskirts of that fight, so that was still a 4 versus 5. It's a very
Yeah.
with CFO still
It was a little bit like sloppy.
KC in a much favorable position compared
I mean, in general, I think KC are just choking in general.
Yeah, Casey's not playing well.
Also than game number 1, right? Because it's him and Honkyu that are going to be doing all of it.
Like the only,
more single target focused if
like,
you are the Talia, right?
I would say that I expected more from like
chaos of a team.
Vladdy especially.
Not having that ult is actually a huge deal.
And
Still
like,
CFO
I expected a little bit of more discipline from KC overall, but like, yeah. That said, Kana is still playing fine. Targamas is still playing fine for what is their normal level of performance.
Yeah. It is just weird. Like, I don't know. Kliss, I don't think is playing well. I mean, he got fucking shit on by Yan, and now he's getting shit on by Doggo. Yeah, like Vladdy's Yone hasn't been impactful.
You say that, but I'm looking at Yike. I'm feeling like Yike's the carry this time around. He's got his
I don't know, like you're giving kind of all these power picks, but like it's not really doing too much.
This is a Death Ball style of composition, and that's exactly what Brand wants. He wants to throw fire around in amongst
Back
everyone.
evenly.
Like his passive's gonna be
Well, I mean, they're not playing like coordinated.
So I think Yike.
I think this game, like, KC is having better objective control, but overall, it's just like kind of like hit or miss.
Actually lay a spell after spell. This could be a real problem for CFO.
Yeah, the MasterCard lane economy snapshot showed us that there was at least a little bit more in terms of equality in that there are options for the side of KC, right? And I think that's the crucial thing, because in the previous game, it felt like that they were on a one-track mind where they had to catch that target out, they had to kill him quickly. This time round, with a multi-damage threat...
Yeah, I think KC's draft has been kind of ass so far.
But they have the damage in theory to deal with it.
Well,
Oh. So Yike is fucked.
And everything is about zoning. They knew that he
Bye-bye.
just dead to rights. And so CFO, they take down the jungler, and they now look for...
True Prodigy not even reaching 18 years, young.
Okay, Honkyu is there to defend the mid turret so that we can actually like get feats later.
Split pushing is Junja at about 50%. Dueling this Chemtech Drake. Driver gonna move on over.
Close has to flash that.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Wait,
Yeah, Junja went in, but he realized he fucked up. Oh wait, is this really bad? Oh, yeah, I think they kind of...
KC has like the advantage when it comes to burst and numbers. Driver Giga Chad.
Oh my god. Driver, please.
Getting to work here on the top side of the map though, as second dragon in a row here for KC is a big deal. And you can see the fans here at Lol Park agree. This is what we're expecting. It was a bit quiet during game one.
I mean, somehow got feats of strength though. Holy fuck. Okay.
CFO though, wisely cross-mapping on the top side, able to secure that first tower. Crucially though, I mean, we talked about it in the draft. When it comes to
I hope so.
Space,
there's a lot of talent in Taiwan. It's just like you have to nurture it and find it. It just doesn't like fall out of the sky. Yeah, here like I think it was fine to like go on Yike or like make him flash, but after that it was like too much. It should have taken the dragon and just got him the fuck out.
Yeah. Junja overcommitted, then kind of
Kana's in a
disengaged
bad
when-
position.
Yeah.
Wow. What the fuck happened there? What
A
the
simple
fuck?
black cleaver. So it is still like this off-tankish version.
Oh, these are Southern Shao Shang? Okay, I'll have to check out that game later.
like they're so quick at collapsing on any single
Yeah,
opportunity.
CFO guys, CFO, please. Channel your energy into blessing CFO victory. What the fuck is that, driver? What was that ult? Still Titanic Hydra first? What is driver building?
That's a nice cancel.
You know what? I'm sorry, driver. I did not know you're just a master baiter, dude. Holy fuck, dude. He baited me. I was so convinced that he was just stroking his dick in bot lane doing nothing, but no, he was baiting that shit so good, dude. Holy fuck. Dude, that's a free mid tower.
0-2 on the scoreboard. This rookie having a fantastic debut on his international stage.
And look at this financial allocation as well, right? Like there's 1.6k lead for Honkyu.
Oh. Oh, nice! Tagamas fucked up. Oh, dude, I'm about to fucking like blow my load, dude. Dude, I'm gonna, if CFO wins 2-0, I'm gonna come so much, dude. My walls will all be white, dude. My green screen will be a white screen, dude. I cannot wait, dude. I'm so ready. Let's go, oysters! Oh, my bad, my bad, my bad. They don't ask questions. Shin Winter asked, I just answered.
But crucially, like, CFO are finding these picks around these objectives, and it's giving them a lot of opportunity to set up around these neutrals. And you've got to remember that CFO love to force your hand. They will force a Baron if it means that they can get the fight that they want.
Fuck, dude.
I'm still looking at Yike. Even in that dragon fight from before, but we're going to check out this replay.
Okay, Kaiwin gets cut out, and then kind of dies.
I mean, again, though, this has been my main criticism of KC, where they just seem uncoordinated. Like, you've got Kalista, big wave, you've got
so random, dude.
Yeah, I mean, they the team was just not in position really to be in the fight, and they just engaged.
Yeah, I mean, they saw Kaiwin was out of position. They thought it was gonna be easy kill.
Yeah, like I literally just imagine like being look.
Yeah, and as soon as someone is crossing the river, the rest of CFO all know that that's happening.
Kana did most damage.
I mean, he's against Sion though. He's just farming damage. Like he was poke or hitting him the whole time. Driver just staying in the lane. What is Driver building? I still don't understand it. Okay. Plus that splash.
You know what? Like, actually getting Warden's Mail just as a component for like the passive is like.
Oh, you know what? Okay, yeah.
Kinda good.
True.
It is kinda good.
Because CFO able to grab the turret and disengage.
Yeah, that's a good point, Meander.
Frozen Hearts doesn't have the passive, Randuin's doesn't have the passive, but like the passive itself on Warden's Mail is kinda good versus this comp.
Likely unavailable for this next objective, but the Rel ulti and the MF ulti still available, and the fact that Kalista doesn't have flash.
Oh yeah, the HUD looks a lot better today. Yeah, yesterday's HUD was like really weird, dude.
Yeah, and look at all this vision that they have now. Like you were saying, like you put pressure forward so that you can leave vision there as well.
Yeah, CFO's having a huge lead on red side. 2,000 gold up. Big. I'm very moist, dude.
Banana brush there, lane ward also. And so they can take that Drake whenever they.
Your CFO's winning, okay? I had to fucking listen for a whole week about how CFO's last place and they have 5 dog shit players. No, 6 dog shit players.
We may have gotten our Ruinous.
And their reasoning was always like, oh, Doggo played an LPL and didn't look good, so last. Like, what the fuck?
Bro.
Like, dude, if Kalista was in LPL, you don't think he'd be last? The fuck? Have you seen what kind of supports Doggo had to play with?
Bro, they are saying this like their top laner isn't Kana.
Yeah.
One of the most mid top laners that were ever on LCK.
Yeah, but LCK is good though, so like mid tier. But like, okay, but Ginger was like, you know, mid to top tier in LPL. That's pretty something.
Arguably, bottom tier of LCK isn't that good.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, if you go past the midpoint, it's really bad. True, Ginger is a world champion, baby.
KC being spread very thin. The animization.
No, they have a dog. We have Doggo. That's the difference.
That's a good question, Spam. I would say I will give this an ETA of like over 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh shit, 10 to 15 minutes? Dude, I can't. Come on, CFO, don't blue ball me. You should know. Okay. Kaiwin's getting caught?
That's good. That's very good.
Like, what the fuck? Okay.
They just knew it, and they knew that the fight was better.
Dude, there's no way, dude. I can't. This is E's best team. Oh my god, dude. Dude, Kaiwin's in his element. He's like, I'm not trapped here with you. You're trapped in here with me. He just kills everyone, dude. Oh man, that's so crazy, dude. The Kaiwin loves to run it down, and Casey's like helping him make it effective. Dude, I'm crying from laughing so hard, man. I can't. I'm gonna die. No, don't. Ricer, premature ejaculation is a very bad way to ruin your day. You gotta keep it in, keep that semi going, hold it deep, watch Kaiwin's ult, pull them into a fucking misfortune ult. Bloody tries to ult out and still dies. 1 for 3 and they get support kill? Word. Dude, that's the face I would make too.
Oh, that's
Like,
not a happy face.
Kalista solve his ult. If I say Kalista's overrated, I think that's too far. I think he did play well in EU, but god damn, dude, he's not having a good first tournament.
Depends who are we talking about overrating him, but like he's good. He is definitely probably in the top 3 AD carries in the league.
Yeah, I think he's at least top 3. Like, because it was Upset, Hansam, and Kalist for me. Those 3 were like the best AD carries. Oh! Okay, nice! Wow! Dude, they tried to go on dog and just flashed out and missed everything. Kalist has been running, dude.
Flash slow from Junjia.
Dude, holy fuck, they all had to flash. That's 4 flashes! And 1 death!
Yeah, because he didn't flash.
Damn, dude. Super.
Super.
Yo, yeah. Super. No, I don't think Super did that well. I mean, like, yeah, I would say Kalist was much better. Like, Kalist, Hansama, and Upset were by far the top 3. Like, look at that. Then he, oh man. Oh, that was really well played. Yeah, dude, they're flashing like crazy, dude.
I mean, this may be a little bit controversial, but I don't think I actually like rate Karzi above Hans, for example. I don't think
sure, yeah, Karzi.
I really do think it's upset Karzi, Kalist, Hans.
Oh damn! You think Hans is 4th? You're saying for the whole split, right? The whole split?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Hans can have a very, very, very good series, but he isn't. He doesn't have those kind of performances.
Maybe I'd have to think about more. From what I saw, though, like I didn't watch every single game, so maybe that's why. But yeah, like Karzi does play pretty well. There's a lot of good AD carries in Europe, though, if you think about it. Like Noah, like Rahel, even like Supa, Karzi, Hansama, Upset, Kalist. That's like 7, 8 good AD carries. Like the only AD carry that I thought was ass was like Patrick, but like that's about it.
Yeah,
like,
Patrick's downfall was, I mean,
yeah,
it's
crazy.
Really sad. Like he just kind of went the Larson path and just stuck himself onto one team, probably the same contract all the time, and he's just like kinda like it does kind of look like he's just.
Yeah, my Reddit account's the same as my Twitch, like KMTlol.
Just a shame.
I just KMTlol for almost everything.
Is Patrick even? Oh yeah, Patrick is in Rogue, right?
Yeah, he's in Rogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, this, I don't know how they're losing. Like, I don't know how they got this draft on blue side, dude. Like, to me, like KC's draft game 1 was good on paper, but it didn't make sense for KC. Game 2 draft, I don't think it's even good on paper, but it still really doesn't make any sense for KC.
Wait, is Sion and
like Kalist is like a KDA play at this point, dude. He's fucking like can't even play. He's just running the whole game. Oh, dude, the games are going great. Oh, true. I gotta stay in the Reddit League subreddit. I didn't get to talk shit. Oh fuck, I'm gonna load that up, dude. I didn't check any of my social media stuff. I was locked in.
Like if you sit there and think that Casey is the first on a dragon, like,
oh fuck, dude.
Walking into the brand stun. Okay, now you've just stunned me. That's one of your few CCs. Now my Scion can walk up.
You can still hear the fans.
It's just so easy for them to walk up to any objective against this composition, which is why power and strength is. So
that's how I busted up, dude. When I talk shit, dude, I just like grow bigger.
bought himself a nice book. This is the youngest.
Makes my chin chin hella katai, dude.
17 years of age, and he has a Magi Soul Stealer. I
No
cannot
comment.
wait to see more.
Damn, Honku Magi's. What the fuck, dude?
Because I've heard some pretty big talk about Honku and
Oh!
Yeah, over the wall, getting the knockback.
Damn!
And it's Jover.
Oh, let's go, dude! Dude, LCB's showing up. What the fuck am I watching? Yeah, that was clean, dude.
Just left scratching their heads at this point in the series.
Honku, dude, Honku is playing so nice today, dude. I really thought game one he was gonna be like passive and like int because of like
Honku just
nerves,
doesn't care.
but like he's playing aggressive, like he's flashing in, making plays. Like it doesn't matter how good those plays are. The fact that his mindset is, my team trusts me, I can go in and make a play. That is really good. Okay.
Okay. He is trying really,
dude,
really
he really
hard.
wants to go home, dude. Vladdy was like,
Honku is
how can I
flashing
go?
in and he almost
He flashes the minions and oh shit! Oh, the double flip!
Okay.
Oh, nice! Stopwatch!
He has the arm guards.
Oh.
And it's working. Come on, guys. Smack them with the wallets. Oh, we are just casually just going through base to rotate bot.
Oh.
Bonk.
Yeah. Shock Blast is going to be able to lock down Honku. Going to die for the first time. Also,
oh. Should we just mind control ourselves?
He definitely wins those. Okay, driver spin.
Can we just back off and reset and just take an easy win? Who's next?
That's so unnecessary.
Yeah, Ginger Kaiwing is playing so well. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know who's playing bad on CFO right now. Like, they're playing really well. Like, maybe this game they could have done better with objective controlling, but besides that, it's like, dude. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that was by Vladdy. All it did was just get Yike and Kalis killed. Yike, or Honky flash forward. He almost got it.
As KC is then forced to retreat. Now again, Kana does find a nice pick onto the knockup that comes through from Targamas.
Yeah, I think we kind of overstayed. I mean, like, it's probably winnable.
Definitely a little bit of for fun gaming.
Yeah, this is like kind of for fun gaming.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, Casey would like them to go away. Like, please.
Yeah, dude. Make my pussy, but jeez, this guy's calm down. Game's not even over yet.
Not a whole lot of avenues in for this one. There's Kana, not going to be able to stop it. So the purple worm delivered towards CFO.
Dude, I saw the CFO account on Twitter. Someone responded to like one of the messages saying like, "You are #1 seed. Why do you have no fans?" And I just want to be like,
"Oh, the god!
Oh!
Oh, Kaiwing is just walking in.
Dude, they're all
absolutely
fucked.
doesn't care. He absolutely
driver?
just
Oh my god, driver's still alive.
Doesn't matter.
Holy fuck, you can't die!
This zombie flank. It's to flank with the zombie, definitely.
Nice, dude!
Let's go. GG.
Dude, I wanted to ask that guy, like, KC is #1 seed, how come they have no wins? Yo, let's go!
Absolutely incredible, convincing, coordinated, and well executed.
2-0, baby! 2-0, dude! It ain't even fucking close, man! I don't hear the blue wall, because the blue wall is knocked down, dude! Oh!
A beautiful performance here from this squad.
Damn, dude!
Yeah, they're a little bit bewildered. Don't necessarily know where to
Everybody
go.
getting some to Kevin becomes intelligent.
I mean, they should be feeling incredible after this, because again, this matchup was so important. If you think about
Carmine
the
who?
that's left in the tournament, I mean, of course,
Carmine
CFO
fucking
is
who?
Dude, he's gonna be
Camilo is
last
probably-
place, dude.
who are firmly in
That's
last place. Their only
crazy.
opposition is Top Esports and Hanwha Life. So unless they really change
Bro,
the
Kameto
narrative of
better
what's going on
be
in this
buying
tournament,
those
they're not
tickets
gonna get
now.
out before the group stage is over.
Yeah, let's go, dude.
To get a win against anyone, they need Top Esports to just lose everything
Yes,
from
they
here on
do.
out. That is absolutely unbelievable. But now it is time for us to go to a short break. When we get back,
Yo, let's go.
for them to talk about the loss. Unfortunately,
Hey, driver styling on people. Let's go, dude. Damn. Holy fuck. Casey's eliminated. Exactly, dude. Holy shit.
Dominate the rift with Opera GX.
That's crazy.
LOL Esports. Get a browser built for League fans with a custom UI.
Ahora, EU the phone. EU, why are you so quiet? I can't hear you, EU. They got 3-0 in the World Championship. Oh my God, you guys suck.
True. He does suck, dude. Damn, dude. If Demoto's a minor region, true. Let's go, dude. Let's go. What the fuck was that by them, dude?
Alright guys, I just landed in China. Let's go.
Play the local way, pay your way.
Have you ever seen the Great Wall at night?
Play the local way, pay your way.
When you have 5G home internet, you can get entertainment you already love for less, like Netflix and Max, Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. Save on them all. Plans start at just $35 a month. Only on Verizon.
Dude, EU low, dude. LEC is so fucked, dude. When they're back home, not daily, but like maybe twice a week.
Welcome to the Esports World Cup.
Oh, dude. It'll be fun if TL wins? What do you mean? Why would that be fun?
Against TES, I guess. I mean, yeah, it would be.
Oh, against TES?
But we are not here for celebration. Not for spectacle or sport. No. We stand over this blood-soaked sand because it is our legacy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because Team Liquid already beat, what's it called? K-Corp. So he's at 0, dude. Oh my god, I didn't think it was gonna be a... I didn't think it was gonna be a fucking 2-0, dude. Damn, dude, that's they're gonna get one win the whole tournament? Woo! Damn, dude. Dude, that's fucking crazy. What the fuck? Dude, you know what? I need to stop being so humble, dude. I was like thinking like, oh, it might be 2-1, you know. I hope like he's, you know, CFO can do well. Dude, everyone's just shitting on EU now, dude. Let's go, dude. They're like, why is Tiger Evans a coordinated highway? True, true. I agree, dude. Why is that? Oh, dude, this is like, I don't know, man. Being talent is good, but shitting on like a Western team at internationals has always felt great, dude. I love it, dude. Oh, the Scion dance? Oh, it's me.
Those tickets now.
Dude, I love Driver, man. Oh, 2-0, dude. That's crazy. Red and blue side. I mean, I did go 1-1 against 100 Thieves at Worlds in 2032. But doesn't matter, dude.
Okay.
New year.
Okay, so tomorrow we are getting shit on by HLE.
Okay.
Thursday we shit on TL.
Nice.
And then Friday,
We'll probably get Sean TES.
yeah.
Yeah, but like
Friday
honestly,
we play against TS, and we probably win by forfeiting because TS is already in hospital because they choked.
Dude, what the fuck?
Thank you for watching. Sorry the games were so fast, but hope you can become a fan of winning teams.
What? What's that?
CFO Twitter.
Let's go, dude! Yeah, CFO, what is it? LL Esports tweeted 2-0. I'm like, and then CFO's like, thank you for watching. Sorry the games are so fast, but hope you can become a fan of winning teams. Heart. What the fuck, dude? Damn, dude. That's true. That's true. Oh, dude. It's Dunzo, dude. What? Showing off like good plays for Carmine Corp though? What the fuck was that? You did it twice.
Cope. That's what.
2025 here at
Cope.
TES. Guys, I have to say, usually where I come from, we like to eat oysters.
Hey, there he is.
Oysters decided to fight back.
EU fans
As we see
totally coping.
crazy dance moves after the 2-0 sweep against KC.
This is so good. That's the Scion dance, and we got to see why they do like their sub-in situation. You know, he plays the Scion, the Gragas, and the Jax, and he got to.
Exactly. There's a fan sign that said like, oh, you need 2 top leaders, but you won't be like Kana. Dude, Kana was AFK. I didn't even think he was in the game, dude.
I think Kana played well, but like Kana isn't enough really to carry this team.
That was where all the focus was going to be, and he certainly showed up.
Absolutely, Oppo player of the series here.
I'm being like
again.
positively surprised by Kana so far, given that I didn't watch LEC that much this year.
Here at the end of the year, and once again, I feel like he proves why he's probably one of the best.
It's crazy, dude.
I have no team to like root for in LEC.
I usually just root for G2 or like players that I like.
to get
I like
Gladius
Mickey
behind
X, so I was sharing Fnatic, but that was my fault.
as well. He was just everywhere, and it's really clear what the game
Yeah,
plan is
Jinja has
for,
been popping off,
the
dude.
Flying Oysters, which is just let this guy
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm probably a little delusional because I thought Jinja has always been pretty good.
Really good. And one of the things that we didn't have time to actually show is toggling the vision on the play where they picked Yike in mid lane. They got vision, and Jinja walks up. He just acts like they don't know where he's there, and then they pincer onto Yike, and that's how they get this big pick onto Yike. And
In his anxieties in World.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
I mean, draft cap, dude.
Closing thoughts maybe for this matchup on KC. It's gonna be do or die in the next matchups, and I want to say it's not
probably gonna be die.
I also do think that like matching up against like Yike is a way easier matchup than like what he gets at Worlds normally.
And now it gets even more painful.
Like,
it's just very sad.
Yike got shit on by
They're obviously not showing their top form,
like,
right? I feel like after that loss to TL, which was very close,
you can't name yourself an international level jungler and then get shit on by
This is a tournament where you have to get wins, you have to get ahead, and unfortunately they've fallen a little bit too far behind.
It is tricky. It's literally show up or go home. We'll see if they can shift things around for the next matchup that they're gonna have against TES. But
also, I do think that
it is gonna be
like if Yike was just a tank and sucked it, like that draft would have looked miles better for KC.
True.
Our eyes to the bot lane in today's
True.
matchup presented.
Damn, dude. Crazy.
Off against Jackie Love.
Yike now going in, trying to lock up the Lucian. Nice disengage coming in from Corrin. Yike's just about to get deleted. Yawn now on a rampage. Kliss has to make the difference, has to take down Yawn. TL taking everything.
Damn, dude.
Star shone bright in the LTA, consistently performing for Team Liquid.
I mean, we still have like 3 more days at least.
In their 3-0 versus 100 Thieves. But he will
I mean, as long as K-Corp doesn't beat like China and Korea, we'll be top 4.
It'd be very nice if you guys supported us instead of that
I
one guy
mean,
who was screaming at me. I'm pretty sure that guy had a Jackie Love jersey and he was like, "This is your daddy" or something. I have no idea what he was saying, but like,
oh fuck.
Oh, Leaguepedia doesn't have it.
Last time they faced
Leaguepedia doesn't have
where top esports 3-0'd them with
tiebreaker
dying
rules.
a single time in the entire series.
I kinda hope that the head.
Yeah, CFO shouldn't be 5th.
I kinda hope
yeah.
that this head-to-head like already just set us up for success.
In this matchup,
Well, I'm hoping we beat TL as well, dude. That'd be fucking perfect, dude. That time of my life.
A decisive matchup here today, and it was a decisive matchup last time as well. Kabi, you set it up pretty well in the video.
But I feel like Yawn is coming in really hot. I mean, off that Lucian Nami game with him and CoreJJ.
Damn, dude. Everyone hates K-Corp, dude. Everyone's so... Dude, NA and E fans are so toxic.
Now I want more. I'm looking for another a little upset here.
Yeah, dude.
It definitely will be an upset, but you know, Jan may be a believer a little bit as well. He played Lucian.
Oh, so funny, dude.
Here at the LCK,
It's like looking at all the people like
not big Lucian fans, but I saw
getting
that,
so
and I was
mad.
like, man, this guy can actually play the pick, and he's gonna have to step it up again. He obviously played incredibly well against.
When
KC,
people were
so,
telling KC fans to wait, see how you match up versus Asian teams, they weren't talking about CFO, man. Damn, dude. Yeah, like it wasn't even close, dude. KC who? Hey, I'm just liking all the comments.
Camping on plays. That's something he does really well with a lot of those engaged champs.
Absolutely, and 369 actually was the one saying that Western teams are usually pretty fast at figuring out the.
Damn, I feel like the
meta.
celebration was
There's
over
not
so
gonna be a lot of
fast.
differences today. I feel like Jan and the rest of Team Liquid
Damn,
know
dude.
their priority here at first end. They have
The LPL ratings. Why the fuck is Driver 8.8? What the fuck?
Vikings.
Arrest is 8.8. I mean, Driver is 9.4. Damn, dude. What the fuck?
There's a lot of trash talk, but
Don't look.
really
Don't
has
look.
been,
Close your eyes.
A big thing of focus with people trying to target ban. You know, his Ziggs, his Talia. Again, I really think it doesn't have the biggest spotlight, but people are more starting to fully recognize it now as one of the super duper power picks for him. And so I think 369's correct in focusing in that area.
A lot of respect, and honestly, after the performance from TES yesterday, I'm expecting more from the top lane, from 369, but from the entirety of the lineup. So how do we expect this one
Damn,
to go,
dude.
considering what we saw from Team Liquid and what we saw from
2-0's nuts.
trends here?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a big.
Oh, I need to fucking change my bottoms, dude. I was not expecting that, dude. I really thought it was gonna go to game 3, but that game 2 draft was ass, dude. I'll be right back.
Coming over to Korea and playing their top game because they got absolutely smacked down by Humble Life Esports, and it wasn't their top level. I said it before. I think that Top Esports are a much better team than what they showed, and I think TL, if Top Esports and Kanavi, who had kind of a weak day yesterday, if they show up, TL will have a tough time.
Yeah, I definitely think that.
Give us some hope, Cody.
Yeah, well, Top Esports are definitely going to perform much better in this series, I would say, for sure, than they did yesterday. I mean, 369 versus Zeus is a completely different beast than him versus basically everybody else in the world. I really thought, coming into this tournament, 369 was playing really well. So I think that individual is going to be a lot better, as well as the team coordination overall.
I mean, we know what they say with 369. Is it going to be a 3, a 6, or a 9 for his performance? We're going to find out very soon. Is Team Liquid able to put up the upset against the LPL representative? Casters, take it away.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm cautiously optimistic, Vedius.
Oh.
I felt like I was walking into LoL Park today. I was like, yeah, feels like it's a bit more even. TES coming off a loss, TL coming off a win. Sure, and then as soon as I sort of walked in, everyone was like, nah, man. It's not really, that's not really how it's going to be.
We're all about the optimism. This
right?
duo. Okay,
yeah.
we look at the bright side.
Exactly.
Okay?
Both teams are going to win.
I mean, let's say that both teams are going to gain something out of this experience.
Hey, there we go.
And, I mean, personally, I'm excited about the mid lane, Because when we think about Cream's rise to fame, right?
Yeah.
Rookie,
yeah.
Doinby, Knight, Scout, incredible mid laners. And now he goes up against, I would say, one of the titans of the international stage, Captain America himself. I mean, a man that is unbridled with confidence. And 369 himself said it. He is the player that they're keeping their eyes on.
Yeah, maybe the biggest advantage that Top Esports have is that they're not an English-speaking team. And so the all chat not necessarily going to be as powerful.
True. That's a great point. That all chat superpower.
Exactly.
Significantly less effective.
Well, we'll see whether he does it anyway, because he probably will. And obviously, a lot of these players would understand. So maybe he'll just go for it. This last time around, it's been mentioned a few times, but TL didn't have a great time when they were on the Rift against Top Esports.
We spoke to Spawn about it.
Yeah, and he said that they took a whole lot away from that series. In fact, almost everything from that series, and said that League of Legends has become a different game now. We should probably figure that one out. And from what we saw yesterday, looking pretty good, and we'll have to see whether they're going to be able to put that to the test moving into this game.
I'm excited because I know for Team Liquid that they've got a lot to prove to themselves in this matchup, just because of how significant the last time that they met was for the team, and how it really did change their perspective on how they want to approach the game as a team. And so I think they want to demonstrate what they've learned and how much they've grown. And I think kicking off the tournament with a strong performance against KC yesterday, Yon, I think, has surprised many.
Yeah.
In terms of domestic fans, it's probably not that much of a surprise because of how great of a start to the year he's had. But internationally, I think people weren't expecting him to deliver at that level. And now against Jackie Love, it's going to be another test for him to prove what he can do on the international stage.
Yeah, and domestic is so much different, right? Like we had it in our previous series. CFO really coming out swinging. It's about where you fit in the overall scheme of League of Legends. Right now, TL are sitting at 1-0. And TES, this is the time where they're most beatable. We actually saw the power of that in our previous series. KC unable to turn around that loss against TL from yesterday in their match up against the Flying Oysters. And now, can TL find the avenue in?
It only takes one upset in group stage to change the whole dynamic, So
it's ruthless. When it's just that one guy that gets kicked out, you know, it does make things very, very difficult. I guess there's a lot of people on the team, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. Zig's going to be taken away here as the Nidalee going to be removed from Kanavi. This, I don't know, man. I just feel like let's keep our expectations low. I'm not gonna do it. All right, I'm like, my brain is doing that thing where I'm getting that hope. And I'm like looking at Umpty's face.
Right, I'm back.
He's back. Okay. Welcome to the draft. Nidalee Bad versus Kanavi.
Sometimes he just
okay.
and he schools Canyon. You know?
Yo, PCS! Yo. LCP! Lil Jar, what's up?
And so he could do it here.
I love the inner turmoil.
Yeah, CFO's done for the day.
There is so much.
You're trying to be a
CFO is. Yeah.
Honest caster. At the same time, you want to be filled with hope and excitement.
Do. So maybe they can kill JackieLove more than one time this game. Let's keep expectations low.
Wow, you really shifted from.
This is China versus America. Or North America.
Okay. Well, Talia, Varus, and the Zig's taken off from the side of Top Esports, and they're immediately gonna lock.
Oh, I didn't start predictions.
369, a player
but
that has really stood out for Top Esports throughout the year.
I feel like it's kind of obvious who's going to win, who's going to lose.
The Rumble first pick really baits that Vi pick.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm an NA hater, so I'm not the best person to ask. I never have faith in NA, dude.
Easy lock in. What direction our team?
That's yeah. Sounds happy if they have a 1-2-0, so they look better now since they 1-1 match.
JackieLove.
Yeah.
Would consider his, well, I mean, his world famous Kai'Sa.
Yeah, there are a few things that he has an option of picking up, and Rumble also fits into a lot of different styles of composition as well.
Yeah.
Like you can play dive with Rumble very comfortably.
You certainly can. We know that JackieLove also loves his misfortune, so options are plenty here in the first game. What's going to be the jungle lock-in? Xin Zhao.
This is so umpty.
I mean, it's coming in with a lot of confidence, I would say.
Also feels out of left field almost entirely, but definitely very color coordinated with the Ezreal.
It certainly is.
So now they just need
Dude,
to
like every time I look at the Reddit or Twitter comments, they're all just like hard shitting on like KC, dude.
Moving in. But outside of that, it does really raise some eyebrows because this was pretty obviously coming in, right? The Vi comes through. I don't know about this one. This is worrisome.
I am a hater on the Aurora. Of course, I am open-minded, and I'm willing to be proven wrong.
An open-minded hater.
Yes, and I've seen Cream's Aurora before, and I know that it's a power to be reckoned with.
Indeed.
Okay, but I've also seen Kanavi have mixed performances on the Vi as well, and that is a gap. Now,
this is golden themed as well.
I will.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's important that we color coordinate.
Indeed.
Now, Galio as an answer to Rumble is something we've seen a lot.
And it's a tank for impact as well. I feel like it ticks a lot of boxes.
It's a flex. You could potentially put it into the mid lane. You can already see an AP-heavy draft on the side of Top Esports. And the Kai'Sa being taken away from Team Liquid, they know. I wonder if they'll follow it up with something like the MF, or if instead they're a little bit concerned about a potential other AD carry. Core JJ, he looked not of approval there coming from him.
Yeah. And I love this based on the fact that Xin Zhao was locked in, right? Like you can see, the band's coming on through there as the Kai'Sa and the MF both hitting the bench. Things like the Ashe up and available, like there are a bunch of things still left.
The Karma and the Azir. Okay, so the Karma, I was wondering, sometimes we've seen Karma as an answer into the Rumble, but I think they're also worried about the pushing potential of an Ezreal Karma on the bot side of the map. The Azir is just a very safe mid laner. And with the Talia gone, I'm curious as to what direction APA will go. And they're going for the double AD carry again. So now the question is, what will their final engage tool be? Because they've got Xin to kind of start off the fight. You've got Galio to follow you up. But then do you go for something like a Leona for that extra bit of dual engage / follow-up? Or do you instead put the Galio towards the bot side of the map and pick something else towards top lane?
Oh yeah, that's true. There's some flexes that we do need to bear in mind. I just think that Galio into the Rumble is just such a strong option.
Yeah. TES is from China, from LPL. Cloud9 did not qualify. They suck. CFO's done for today. We play again tomorrow though, so we'll be on every day. for the tournament. There's a game for CFO during the whole week.
Welcoming the dive from the side of
JJ
Team
doesn't
Liquid.
look too excited about how things are going. He was grimacing.
Grimacing. I mean,
I love Rakan Galio.
I like their
is
engage.
tried and true, man.
I really like this comp from Team Liquid. I think that.
Yeah, I think Team Liquid
you've got
comp looks
relatively
actually
safe
pretty
fights
good.
going. I think you have decent follow-up on the Xin Zhao. I would argue that you don't have a huge amount of peel for the AD carries, but they're very self-sufficient AD carries.
Yeah.
Tristana and Ezreal have great ways to disengage from a fight. And Aurora, I think, is going to struggle in this game. I think range is one of the problems that she as a champion has. And I think that after the repeatedness, like we were talking about, I think she's a great counter pick. But when you pick a blind into a Tristana, you're going to get pushed in. You're not going to have that real mid-wave control, which I think is important when setting up around these neutrals. And while I think that there's decent follow-up on the side of top esports, I think that Vi as an engage is very committal. So I'm going to say
you could be committing a lot further than you want to as
Exactly.
well. Crescent Guard and Buster Shot is a lot of units of distance that you can be moved away.
I'm optimistic about Team Liquid's composition. Ultimately, Top Esports is a team that will skill check you, and that's going to be the biggest test for Team Liquid. Can they match the pure individual talent that this Top Esports roster has, as sometimes that alone has been enough to win them games.
Yeah, so far, Swiffer and Spawn have passed the test. I think they've set their team up with a beautiful draft. It's about whether these players
Believe in yourself, APA.
utilize it to its fullest potential. And once again, are we going to see that this Aurora is a little bit of a trap? Is the Vi not the pick that you're looking for? Because remember, this went to the third round of picks, right?
Yep.
This was picked up second on blue side. The first pick Rumble, we knew was terrifying. This is something that 369 is so good at. Oh man, there are a lot of questions that need answering. Let's answer them right now as we jump into the Rift.
Hey, let's go.
I'm excited.
Me too, man.
I'm going to use this series to forget about the first one of the day.
I reckon that, just wash it off.
Yeah, wash it off. And, I mean, Team Liquid, they... Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, who's catching who?
Yeah, it's the sandwich. The
Okay.
ambitious charge comes in from Umpty.
Umti?
He is about to get
Umti?
Oh, Umpty! Dude, why are they doing that against the Braum, dude? Everyone's popping cleansing flashes. Holy fuck, dude! Oh my god, it's over.
What the fuck was that?
Dude, what in the fuck? I look away, they just get caught out. Dude, what the fuck? Well, so how do you think game 2 will be?
Okay, guys. Okay, guys.
Dude, that's 4
Restart squad, guys.
Is now on cooldown for TL.
Oh.
That's not, I think, how TL planned the early game to go.
No.
That's just so fucked.
That is an assumption.
Factored that
I
in.
admit.
Yeah, I think the idea was they...
Did AP not TP back to mid? It's gotta be a bug, right? He doesn't have TP.
To get a nice punish. Unfortunately, that punish did not go the way that they would have liked. So, Top Esports start the game.
I'm pretty sure he had to TP back to mid lane to catch that wave.
Potentially.
I wouldn't be so sure. He died, so he got an early recall.
Yeah.
Very soon. And Cleanse doesn't do anything.
Oh my god, they hit level 2 though.
Oh, they got to level 2. They are going to be so okay.
Oh wait, Corsair hit level 2 as well?
only has level 2. Wait, it worked. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, Umpty got the kill though. I don't know how much worth that is, but
I thought they can turn this. Not gonna lie.
He used to do this on Bro all the time, by the way. It's like, we're going to start this game off with a bang. Things
I think they could have at least attempted to trade against Dion.
Getting that gank to work, getting that confidence, it doesn't matter. You know, your jungle might be a mess, it's fine.
Yeah, so we'll see how Kanavi punishes it, if he does. Umpty was a little bit of 2 minds here. You'll notice as well, the level 2...
That is such a cheesy gang as well.
Top esports, but Core also gets level 2 himself, and Umpty arriving. JackieLove has no flash, it's a very easy play.
Yep, immediately going home there as well, so Umpty getting to work towards his top side. Kanavi getting some vision down.
I don't know, I am really surprised that they didn't really try to turn this.
To take this one out without too much of a worry here. Deciding instead whether he wants to fight. Level disadvantage here as the Smite War does go the way of the Xin Zhao, who is just going to march his way towards his bottom side. His Krog's still up, but that's not too much to worry about.
Oh god, this is a mess, isn't it? So Wolves into red, into Raptors, into blue. Nope, he's skipping blue. He's going with bot crab, so he doesn't get double crabbed.
Unless he's ganking bottom lane again. Because surely he'll want to...
might be right.
Oh, there we go, Opti.
Oh, he does
There's
get
my
spotted.
Oh, they see him.
No.
Is it actually going to matter? Because Jackie, remember, doesn't have too much of an option win.
Oh, that, yeah.
Become attached to
That was a
That
really
graphic
good
on Zin W is
from the
so
edge,
treacherous.
just 'cause, had they not spotted that
It
one out,
never
it would
hits
have been
on
another
on the
successful
tip.
gank, and Jackie Love would have been in a bit of trouble. Waving a nice
I
spot
kind
there.
of love the fact that he's going for it, though. Umpty going to be now grabbing himself a crab. Impact doesn't love how things are going because, of course, Umpty did show himself. So that means that now this chicken on the top side
Will
could be
he?
in
I don't
trouble.
think he gets the shield.
Coming forward. Oh, there's that.
Oh, that's a nice
Oh.
trick.
Justice punch. But,
That is
Umpty's
so
got 10
huge.
so it doesn't matter. Still, mini wave going to be dealt with, and Impact just gives him the thumbs up.
Gil's looking really good right now, except for like level 1 performance. Besides that, like it's recovered pretty well.
Buying more time for Umpty, very important. So Kanavi getting delayed, going to be good.
Yeah, all those camps are back up now for Kanavi, as finally Umpty will be able to clear out his bot side camps. The Wolves respawn, crucial pickup.
Yeah, he might actually be even with Kanavi for a few seconds. So that does mean that he's not punished that much. And I actually think that the
problem
delayed
is gonna
back is kind of good.
The problem is going to be the respawns.
Yeah.
Because now Kanavi has his whole jungle to clear, and the Raptors still are yet to respawn. So this is where we're going to start to see
Still
that
a few
discrepancy.
seconds on that flash in the bottom lane.
Mm.
Just FYI,
I mean, he's looking for a lane gank. The ping has come down onto Kanavi.
Okay.
He's hovering around the bot side. They're cautious.
Both junglers looking for that bot lane.
The fake back scenario.
APA?
He will be okay. And now Jackie Love in trouble once
And
again.
he just
Wow,
spent
they're
his TP
just
now. Okay,
constantly
wait.
ganking
He didn't
bot.
auto Jackie!
The door
Oh.
has to wear off.
Oh.
And that is another kill. And that is mission accomplished, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, they've done a really good job of punishing this flashless Ashe. It's exactly what you need to do. The double knockups coming through from both Rakan and...
The APA also got to like clear this mid wave with Soul Evo.
For Jackie Love to really go anywhere. It's unfortunate that Yon doesn't get the kill. Unfortunately, the Braum shield was basically blocking all of his auto attacks.
Yeah.
So Core JJ had to secure it, but getting the kill, ultimately the greater good. So good job from Team Liquid.
And I think we're getting a little bit of a taste for how this Team Liquid composition wants to work as well, right? It is the just go in over and over again, but when you factor in Galio on top of it, like, the amount of knockups is going to be absolutely absurd. The bouncy
I can't stop reading CFO stuff. Algae, shellfish. If you have shellfish algae, you may need to put all time shellfish. Damn, dude.
If they get a few kills in a row, the game
Casey an Abby pen, dude.
really be there for TL.
And I will say, this is not the Aurora gameplay I'm used to, where Cream is just...
Yeah, you just walk up and you comment, this is the one I'm used to. This is what I was expecting.
He is just very much bullying APA out of that lane. He's got a healthy CS lead in the 1v1 matchup. We'll look back at this play from Team Liquid. There's the initial
Oh,
knockup
and Chris was ready to recall.
There is the follow-up knockup from Umpty, and you can see the auto attacks being blocked there by Chris, means that Core JJ ends up securing that kill. So
Eon is going
I guess a
lethal.
small piece of good news for top esports, given that Yon isn't starting to snowball out of control.
That is interesting.
And ultimately, it's important to recognize that it's top esports that still have the gold lead. That top matchup is still very much going in favor of 369.
Not to mention that first blood that Cream was able to pick up.
Exactly. Cream is only extending that lead as well. You can see that he is about a healthy, what is that, 14, 15 CS ahead?
Yep, and APA started the psychological warfare, as now we have emotes flying back and forth, and Cream, well, he's pretty happy to play that game. As you can see, over and over again, every time his spells are available, he is using them. And APA looks like he's just happy to scale. Of course, Tristana is generally one of those, has the cull, and so he's just looking for a couple of items before things are really going to start happening. And Umpty parked around this dragon. They're not going to start it off just yet or anything like that, as TES now wondering where they want to go.
Jackie has kind of caught up in the CS though.
To Kanavi, so that is going to be feats of strength also picked up there, or at least one portion of it.
Bit of a roam coming through.
I need to lock in. I can't. I'm addicted to. I'm addicted to like looking at flame. There's so much flame. I mean, K-Corp is not a popular team outside of their fan base.
entrance not
So I'm pretty sure a lot of like EE fans are happy that K-Corp got shown.
for this composition from TL. There's a grand entrance
True.
and a heroic entrance on the same team.
Yeah.
And that does make things quite confusing for me, maybe.
For you specifically.
Yes.
Which, honestly, quite inconsiderate of Team Liquid's.
That's what I thought Spawn and I were friends.
I thought so too. But clearly, after that lock-in,
Ball like
really had fun
keep.
out this week.
I know. At least I've got you here with me to help me.
How you got a let come to have a child before legally having alcohol? Damn.
I guess I am just, it's all just crashing around me.
Strong words, you know what I mean? It's like really all there. It's
Is
just,
it really?
Maybe anyway, Kanavi
Yeah.
looking to be pretty friendly around the bot side of the map as he looks to try and cover for Jackie Love.
Oh wait, so they can be friendly and it's just easy, is it?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh man. All right, well APA, he's looking for that angle, as you can see. Cream is finally going to get buster shotted, but I was expecting kind of more to happen there. I think Umpty instead decided to keep his position unknown. I don't know how unknown it is.
Humpty Dumpty.
Who does flash away. The rest of TL looking to make their
Oh,
way
that
over.
didn't throw Kanavi off into the wall. Oh, that's a good true shot. Cream is going to shit on him.
And unfortunately, the door doesn't go multiple directions. Cream manages to take the first kill, and TL, he didn't kill one of them. Just one of them. These health bars are so low. His core
Come on. Come on. Dragon is going to kill him. So hard.
Oh, fuck, dude.
And the dragon is also a problem.
What the fuck is going on? Damn. Dude, fucking Sheep Esports wrote like CFO upsets Carmine Corp. What the fuck are you talking about upset? Bitch, you don't even watch the league.
That was a 1-for-1.
Oh, it was? Oh shit, dude.
And then ulti, so Jackie isn't doing any damage to him in that moment. Then ulti comes in from
Oh.
combined with the target focus, which is fantastic. But then at this point, they catch
Dude, they're all so low, it's crazy.
and Cream was able to secure the kill onto Yon. So now it's a trade of 80 carries, and now it's awkward because APA doesn't have any mana left. The Dragon is also hitting onto him. Kanavi with a lot of HP rejoins the fight.
Damn, dude.
I think to clear out a ward. And then the arrow comes through. The Dragon, in the meantime, is just awkwardly deciding whose alliance it should really form. And then at the end of the day,
6 grubs.
I really wish Dragon killed someone. That would have been so funny.
Yeah, really has been bullied.
I was joking when I said that the goal was Jackie Love more than one time.
You took that personally.
Oh, holy shit. Tell about that shot.
Cream is pushed away. I do want to say though, this is the Cream that we wanted to see.
Oh.
I think up against Zeka, he had a pretty quiet series. Just in general, wasn't bad by any means, but just wasn't having too much of an impact. This time though, you can see doing a lot of damage, about 1,000 gold in the lead, and is looking to really make his presence known later on. Justice Punch not going to connect there, as our at one another.
Meanwhile, I think that Team Liquid are very happy with that. And of course, Cream in a great position to carry for top esports, but the reality is that Yon, the superstar of the roster, is being set up for success.
With a 300 gold lead at 7 minutes against TES, TL has already outperformed KC.
Charge down, mini stun into the wall with that buster shot as Core JJ maybe a little bit late to this party. And Cream sent home once again.
I don't think he's too upset about that.
Yeah, it's still 20 CS in the lead, feeling pretty okay.
Certainly will be. And there's the Malignance.
Molecule, yeah, I saw the Molecule comment, dude. God damn, how you let Hunky have a challenge for legally having alcohol? Damn, dude.
Dragon and Grub spawn are still a ways away. I say Grub, I mean the Herald, of course.
Yeah, Harold, the big Grub. Nice dodge there from Core JJ.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Harold?
Harold.
What happened to Shelly?
I mean, Shelly, sorry, yeah. I'm just,
Is that
I'm
lore
just
that I'm not familiar with?
When things change on the map, I get very confused.
Okay.
And the Grubs also really, or the Kevins, they used to be the Kevins.
I'm trying to refresh chat.
On that one at the same time.
You did? Because it wasn't
I
sticking?
don't see any new messages that I think I should.
Okay. You know, in school, I tried to change my name to Captain Awesome, and this is not a joke.
Really?
On my lab coat, when I was in 6th form, I had Captain Awesome written on it.
It's a bit on the nose, isn't it?
Well, you know, I was a confident individual. But
Did you get anyone to call you Captain
no, I
Awesome?
got like the first years in school because I would come into the class and show chemistry stuff, and they would call me Captain Awesome. People my age though, ugh, yeah, no, that wasn't really sticking.
It's a bit difficult in sixth form as well. It's very clicky. You know?
It really is.
So I feel like you need your friend to call you Captain Awesome for it to have any hope
And my
in
friends
sticking.
mocked me.
And also friends, I mean, it's hard to even claim that you have them.
It's true.
That's what I
already
learned just
established.
before,
I mean, I felt like for a long time I had too many. I feel now I have too many, you know?
I mean, I have to reassess.
You know, I have to.
Because I was just happy to be everyone's friend, but now apparently it's much more difficult. And I thought I was friends with people that maybe now I'm not.
Again, it's just such a strong word, and it's just very there, you know what I mean?
I wonder if Chronicle is my friend. I'm somewhat mean to him.
He's so friendly, though. He'll be friends with everyone.
Dude, I'm so burnt out from that one game, dude. That game was fucking wild, dude.
That's a given.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
I'm sure you're watching at home wondering why you're being brought up over and over again. As Impact, looking for an opportunity here. 369, he knew about it. They are just going to move in. Blast Cone there from Umpty. As Vault Breaker going to be used at exactly the right time, almost by accident.
Well, Team Liquid are in position to contest the Herald. APA in a bit of danger.
All right, Chris moves on forward. There's an ulti, and APA should just be dead, but Cream tanking this turret, and he gets the heal from Chris, and he's going to be A-OK. Minions there at the ready as well, so not needing to worry about this one. And that could just be this outer turret being taken down as well.
I mean, Cream is
Six
getting
scrubs helps
monstrous at this point.
Yeah.
He is doing a really good job on the side lane. I love his coordination with Crisp as well. They really locked up APA, mitigating his options. He did have the flash available, chose not to use it, thinking he could find an avenue for an outplay. But unfortunately for APA, he does not quite find it. Meaning that Cream now 3-0-0, first tower for the team.
He is quite far ahead as well. We can see slight leads for the AD carry and jungle here on TL's side, but the leads are really growing elsewhere. The solo lanes especially, 369 and Cream, we know what they can do when they get those leads at the same time. We're going to check this one out one more time, and it's just combo after combo from Cream. It's unrelenting.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, you know what? I'm actually going to hop off. I need to read some stuff for...
It ends up being Cream that gets the aggro. They were worried about that final tower.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for stopping by. It was fun. I'm glad we got to watch it.
It was really good. Okay, see you tomorrow.
In terms
Peace.
of experience, Cream about a half a level ahead of APA, so that one's not really running away into anything too crazy, but one gold advantage over his lane opponent. Cream's in a great position, but this would be great data. As someone who's not really a believer in this champion, if he can't carry from this position, I feel like I'll have pretty compelling evidence.
Dude, yeah, dude, this first series of the day, holy fuck, dude. Oh, I mean, we kind of did our job at this point. We played above expectation. Like, if CFO loses all the games after, like, everyone's still gonna think like CFO did better than Karmine Corp, but I don't think we're gonna lose all the games. What is happening with my stream these days? Like today, it's like, oh, Impact got double kill with that. Like, doesn't it feel really choppy?
And TL going to continue pushing here in mid.
Oh, lag. Okay, it's not me then. Never mind. I thought it was a me issue.
Push through for this top side, and this is what happens. You lose 6 scrubs, and then if anyone gets any spare time with any turret ever, it's just more gold going their way. And you can see Top Esports going to be moving to about a 3,000 gold lead as that top outer does fall down. But let's have a look at this fight one more time.
So the Herald falls in favor of Top Esports. Crisp, they know that he doesn't have any summoners, so they immediately turn their attention onto him. But Umpty very quickly getting collapsed on by the rest of Top Esports as 369 makes his way down. The Galio has the ultimate though, as Cream is getting into a bit of a fight between 3 people. He uses the ultimate beautifully to dance around the fight. But his HP is
I'm gonna stop. I have to stop looking at Twitter and Reddit, dude. I can't. Like, it's so addicting.
But the rest of Team Liquid is a little bit too separated to escort him to safety, meaning that Top Esports can respond with a kill of their own.
It's a very satisfying Colossal Smash, though. I'm not gonna lie.
It certainly was.
Or wait, I forget what the passive is called. But anyway, the big old punch from the Galio, and that's a lot of money going over towards him as well. So Impact is going to start doing damage. Riftmaker on the way, could imagine. Already has that unending
I
despair.
will say that even though the fights look pretty promising for Team Liquid, the problem is they're not really converting it into much, whereas Top Esports, 2 towers in their name, they got themselves the Herald, they're putting pressure down onto this ad attack. And look at the minimap, the Galio rotating down while 369 continues to push up. APA grouping with the team as well.
Ooh, a little bit of an engagement.
Dude, the lag is nuts, but Cream is dead? Oh my god, it's like stuttering! Stop! You give me a headache!
The problem is it's a 1-for-1 and there's a lot of damage onto that outer turret into the mid lane.
Damn, dude.
Control is still there from Top Esports.
Feels like with 369 in the area, Team Liquid really can't afford to approach.
Cease and desist and the equalizer both available as well.
They have too many resources. Kanavi has found Core JJ, but it's just more of a warning punch.
Oh, Yon, that's not where he wants to be. The flash does come on through. He cleanses to avoid the slow, and it's heroic from Upti, but he's still done the equalizer to pick off the 80 carry. And it was only a matter of time. The delay as TES used all those resources to take down TL.
And just as we say it, Team Liquid, it was a dangerous approach. They'd already used so much in the prior fight. Top Esports still had so
Yeah,
many
this stream is
resources
really rough.
It's
on YouTube and Twitch.
He sees the avenue of attack. He flashes onto the 80 carry of Team
Like,
Liquid.
what the fuck, dude? It's giving me a headache at this point.
Demise of TL.
And this Hextech Drake, thankfully for TL, they did manage to take the first dragon. This is only going to even things out. We'll be able to find out in a second what our soul is going to be. But let's have a look at this fight one more time. As it was a little bit awkward. It started off quite well as Cream was out of position. But unfortunately, the rest of TES were in the right spot, and this teleport from 369.
The fight on two fronts is what made it difficult because the front line of Team Liquid has now been eviscerated.
Yeah. No, this is Twitch. I'm on Twitch right now. I switched from YouTube to Twitch. I think you would fix it, but it's just as like shitty.
Commits his flash to try and secure that kill, but then the rumble.
But like this is like ridiculous. Like it was bad before, but like this is like actually like just dying at this point.
They're known for their team fighting, and they demonstrate why with great patience. If you overstep your boundaries, they will punish.
Yeah, it's Riot. So it's fine. It's fine.
Composition like this for TES, and we're seeing what it means when you execute on that perfectly. JackieLove just going from one to the other, the rest of the team right there with
Top
him.
Esports is really good. We play them tomorrow. So, oh no, we play Hanwha tomorrow. Okay. Oof. That might be rough.
Out of it just yet. There is Wombo availability and there is scaling that they theoretically have on their side as well, but it's starting to feel too little, and it might be getting towards too late as we go further into this one. As Umpty sticking around, getting some information where he can, but Crisp wrapping around too. And the map is getting smaller and smaller here for Team Liquid. As Umpty learning that the hard way. Does Blast going his way out to safety though.
Pressure is good. Arrow comes through.
Oh, connects there on
Damn.
Galio, so he is pretty.
Do you need to flash that?
Actually, don't even know whether he needed to.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been fine.
Still hasn't caught up just yet, and he's got 2 items, Kraken Slayer as well as that Hurricane.
Credit to JackieLove, by the way. He was relentlessly camped, but he's done a great job of bouncing back. Cream, I think, has made a few positional errors. It's kind of cost his lead in the side lane, but you can see that he's still able to find some nice trades against APA. He's a 4 level behind APA, though, as the Otacon is being started off.
Yeah, this is somewhat dangerous. Teleports available for both of the solo lanes on TL's side. Still a few seconds away.
Get on that?
But it doesn't
What?
seem to matter too much as he is
Oh.
in this area.
That was the YouTube stream?
He comes down, TL still haven't pulled the trigger Remember that
only.
combo as the quickness does come on down. JackieLove is targeted, and there's the Galio delivery. They take down the Ash immediately. 369 still a fair bit of damage, but Cream pushed away. Umpty very low.
Did it fix?
He's done his job for now. Able to move his way out, audaciously charging towards Otacon. As it's down to 1,000 health, it's ridiculous. They lose their jungle as Impact realizes the Kanavi's here with a smite, and he can do
I mean, Kawa might be cocky. But the thing is, we have scrimmed like top teams in Korea. So, and like, you know, LPL and LCK, we have top team scrims. Maybe they know that we're like not that bad. Oh! Wow, Young, dude, Young's playing really well actually. What the fuck? It's actually crazy.
This man is so bloodthirsty, but unable to catch up after the blast cone. Oh, okay. What?
Yeah, I hope so too. It's gonna be much harder, cause like you know the #1 team in LPL and LCK are just better.
Yeah. That was what was crazy about it, that it started off with Top Esports wanting to force the fight. They initiate the Artican, and they force TL to come to them, but JackieLove's positioning here, he's trying to apply the slows, but he becomes a prime and easy target with the nice follow-up. So the AD carry is gone. Then I think Team Liquid going a little too deep with some really nice damage coming through from Cream, forcing Umti very low. The ulti's forced to come through. APA separate, and now
Yeah, Umti. I feel like Umti chokes a lot in like these high pressure moments.
Kanavi on the left can basically 2 versus 1. I don't know, I guess Artican is also helping him, turning it into a 2 versus 2. Meanwhile, the rest of Top Esports is zoning them away, but then they zone away too much. And so Yon then turns it around and is able to find a few more kills.
Yeah, with the fact that 369 moved towards the Artican instead, it meant that all of their health bars were actually elsewhere. True shot barrage, great snipe there from Jan, who does still have a gold advantage over his lane opposition. And we've been singing this guy's praises.
Yeah, I have to stay on the English one, guys. Like co-streaming rules, cause like I'm not official co-streamer. I'm CFO official co-streamer. So I get different rules from like other streamers. This is fine.
This Baron pit, not a whole lot to fight for right here, but the Baron is going to be up in 5 seconds time to provide a big opportunity for one of these teams. Not wanting to take it just yet. 369 towards that bottom side.
Damn, dude.
The ready. Top might just be looking for this dragon.
Yeah, at least, yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna complain, cause all I wanted to do was like co-stream. Yeah. I didn't know all the rules. That's my bad. But I'll upload the VOD to YouTube later. Yeah, there's a bunch of different rules for this tournament that I wasn't made aware of until I went live.
But it feels like in the extended fights.
Because I thought it would be the same rules as like when I was streaming LCP, but like there's like a completely different rule set. I was like, oh, okay.
But it's seen on many of the champions that he plays, in the patience that he demonstrates, his target selection. And I think we're seeing that here. His synergy with Kanavi has really been the big reason why Top Esports have been outdoing TL in the extended fights. But a single good fight.
Yeah, I just wanted to cheer on CFO, and I got the dude. I don't know, man. I just blew all my load on fucking CFO match, dude. Hold on, that game was like, I don't know what the fuck happened, dude. K Corp's draft was so bad, and like they just played like they didn't know what the fuck to do. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to pass on that particular question. I do not have the answer.
I don't think Vi is bad, but like Vi, you should only pick if you're willing to pick champions that work well with Vi, or can utilize Vi's like point and click lockdown.
Does kind of want to get towards 3. We'll see whether he has enough time to do so. As Umti looking to clear away as much of his jungle as he can, stay as relevant as possible. Spirit Visage is completed as CoreJJ finds
Wow, Creep dodged the knockup. That's crazy. Dude, they're so fucked. What the fuck? Wow, Cream! That's fucking Zanya. Wow. Fuck.
The revenge for the Ash, as now they're going to take down this inner turret. And man, they could take a whole lot more as well, as the Baron could be an opportunity here for Top Esports.
Zero hesitation, Top Esports, they collapse onto Team Liquid and they just tear them apart. With the Baron open, it's an easy objective to convert it into. A level 17 369. And when we get to see the replay, you'll notice how it's just so quick in how they collapse, because they turn their attention onto core, and then APA can't really join the fight because of the positioning of 369, allowing him to both join the rest of his team but also zone the mid laner away. So keep your eyes on the positioning of this fight, because the engage comes through on the CoreJJ. Team Liquid are just, they're separated. The TP's going to come through.
Yeah.
Team is just dancing around them.
Maybe should let CoreJJ just die.
Yeah, he wants to offer assistance, but 369's angle.
Yeah, they're like really split. It's kind of like a rough situation.
369 is in a position to collapse with
The Cream is so good. It's crazy. Wow.
Top Esports victory here in game 1.
Certainly should, especially with what happened afterwards, which was the Baron being taken without too much of a contest, as we're having a look at KMTlol running really quickly, getting a nice little double knock-up. Let's see whether they actually manage to find something good here as Jan. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Shift just wanting to try and get behind the door as APA.
I'm not sure.
They take down JackieLove once again, and that was one of their missions. But unfortunately,
Okay. We'll have to study TL. Because that's the team that people expect us to win.
So never you mind. Able to use that. It's going to buy him a few extra seconds. There you go. Rocket jump as well. Blast cone. Not even used. Uses it to get rid of Kanavi.
Like, yeah, if we beat TL as well, whoa, dude, the fucking internet's gonna fucking explode.
But in the meantime,
I wonder what happens then, dude.
The inhibitor in the mid lane, and top esports are still being able to claim a whole lot of money and avenues towards this Nexus.
I mean, they're just too fast is the thing. Team Liquid, they're trying to set up a flank onto JackieLove, but top esports is already reading the play. The TP comes through, but I think the TPs are a little bit too late because KMTlol is already down. The AD carry is quick to follow, and now the rest of the team joins. But look on the other side, Impact's like he's just getting obliterated by both Cream and 369. So I would argue that the reality is that TL have the right idea, and they're setting up to try and create these opportunities. Unfortunately, top esports is reading it, and they're just shutting it down before it can really gain any traction. And look at Kanavi, a 9-0-4 scoreline.
Yeah,
he and 369, I think, have been so instrumental in transitioning their early game lead into a strong mid-game performance, and now they're just decimating Team Liquid in the fights.
And I want to go back to something that you were talking about earlier on, and that is the Aurora Vi situation. The best way, it seems to me, from watching this game, is to make it not about Aurora Vi, you just make it about Vi Rumble instead.
Oh yeah.
Is Aurora fucked? What the fuck? Why was Aurora in that position? Okay, the ulti, but didn't really do much. Dude, they didn't even need Aurora.
Is also at about 300 health as APA cannot avoid the gigantic fist
Wow.
of Kanavi. And TL, with just their bottom lane remaining, I don't think they're going to be able to defend as these Nexus turrets go down.
Alright. GG. That's game one.
As a grand entrance coming on through. But TL, I think they know that this one is done and dusted. And I think they're happy that 369 cannot play Rumble again in this series. This guy has looked so good. Top esports really
still died.
from a difficult day one as they take their first Nexus.
Damn, dude.
A bit of a shaky early game, but the reality is top esports in the 5v5 are just monstrous as they lead the series 1-0.
Absolutely amazing stuff, but now it is time for us to head to a short...
Dude, I really need to use the bathroom again. My bad, guys. I've been drinking, like, I've been popping this energy drinks and shit. Ugh. Dude, I thought it was gonna be a long day, so I got, like, coffee and everything. Dude, I fucked up, man. But, hey, dude, it's worth it. Fucking dude, it's worth it.
Dominate the Rift with Opera GX, the ultimate hub for all things LoL esports. Get a browser built for League fans with a custom UI, exclusive themes, and seamless LoL esports tournament integration. Follow every play, see every result, get access to exclusive contests, rewards, and co-streaming options. Only on the browser for legends. Only on Opera GX.
why don't you take my keys and go for a ride?
Welcome, Stella.
So you talk.
Stella?
Almost. What's next? Bright blue. It's bold.
Sorry, honey.
I'm hungry, actually. Your favorite, right?
How did you know?
Red Bull gives you wings.
Flashback, we got man, anything crack that. In and out dolo when a new man to the boys got only when he crack that. Man, I don't act like heads off, yeah, all of that one pack. I could be anywhere, feeling alright. To the game on the head is so mad at, mad at, mad at.
I'm in the Cayman Islands wildin' while I'm bustin' up the silence. I'm denying all vaginas who be claiming that they rhyming. Bust up in it like the bando. Way too much to handle. I should let you know I know my haters really fans though. Wow, yeah. Why the hell you mad? Look, I'm just being me. Mess around and break the bank. You might shake it on the dash. Had her screaming like a mad. Way ahead, you niggas. Live your future in my past. Whip it like a flip phone. Oh, she loved the phone. All you niggas big bandwagons on my shit. No, you can hop up off that. I just got my sauce back. So way out my mother loving mine. I think I lost that. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, there is no telling, yeah. What am I do next? What am I having here? What am I having here? Yeah, I'm on a mission, and no one can stop me, you must be tripping. Tell Roger to copy, I'm on a mission, and no one can stop me, you must be tripping. Tell Roger to copy that, let's go. I'ma raise the millionaire, self-made winner here. Nigga, you a copy of a copy. Build a bear, I only fear the fear of fear, and that's not in here. You couldn't even say you ballin' if you had a pair. Watch out, don't like the cop out. So much time in music, man, I swear I never clock out. Turn extra notes to knockouts, make them wanna tap out. Now they tryna find me, kinda like the trap out. I just had to flip mode, I be hella lit, stove, whip it hella loud. You can feel it from the 6th floor. I'm a Caribbean girl, shake it like a disco. I just had to lay it down with it. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go.
Oh, there you go. Like, what the fuck? My mic's not working. Whoa. I just want like people like mostly like the reason why I'm hyping up CFOs, like I want people to understand that CFO is like a different team. Like we're not bad.
Through yon immediate cleanse, that's Captain Jack-esque. You love to see it, but you don't love to see the amount of top esports players chasing down TL, and APA is going to be the one that bites the dust. First blood to his lane opponent as well.
I'm coming soon now. Coming. Ash is dead for sure. Hitting Ash. Yeah. Let me know your position is good, and then wave is good. Yeah, nice, good job.
Punch Yon, that's not where he wants to be. The flash does come on through. He cleanses to avoid the slow, and it's heroic from Upti, but he still does the equalizer to pick off the AD carry.
Like, I do think there's a gap between like,
Welcome back back to first stand.
LPL, LCK, and the rest, but like not between like LTA and LEC, not so much, dude.
And I'm just gonna lane swap for a bit here to give you the emotional, emotional support for here, Kobe.
Honestly, this game was for sure winnable. Like, if Yon didn't face check in the river, you know, if they didn't mess up a couple of these fights, like the Otacon one where they were completely split, Impact and APA started hitting the Otacon where Umti and Yon and the rest of them are like chasing for kills. So you know, I'm not quite quite crying yet.
Are you coping? Are you hoping? We'll decide this one later.
I'm hoping.
All right, let's focus a bit on TES here, though, because they got the ball running really fast, I feel, and a lot of things started from these bot lane kills that Cream was able to grab.
I mean, Cream was actually pretty good for the first 15 or so minutes. Then he had a couple of big whoopsies, but let's talk about the good stuff first. You know, he got very fed on the Aurora. He went up to 3-0. He had a little bit of help from his friend Crisp, and just went down there, got the free kills in the side lanes, and was a big menace. I feel like he tried to utilize his fedness a little bit too much in the mid game, where he's like, I am a huge presence. I want you to focus on me so my Rumble and Vi can do the real damage. But he just ended up, that's the
genius,
the LPL copium. But at the end of the day, it actually kind of worked, even though he was dying all the time, just because I think TS were a little bit better and more close as a team, playing these team fights at least.
Yeah, Cream was really good just in the lane phase versus APA also, like, you know, earning his own lead and then those early game kills. But yeah, it definitely took
What the fuck? These people are so mean.
Yeah, I mean, and that, you kind of want to have this lead, especially with a champion like Aurora, but he was not the main character from TES here. What has been the best recovery, would you guys say, from TES yesterday to what they showcased today in the synergy, especially, that they had and the way they were connected in fights?
I think it's the two stars of this game because, yeah, yesterday and today, huge difference.
Damn, dude.
369 Rumble was massive, and Kanavi as well on the Vi just looked insane. Like, this is the play I was talking about, though, where Yon goes into face check. So I'm wondering what the comms from TL were like there, because they don't respect 369 on Rumble. He immediately flashes, and then his ulti is able to snipe, and, you know, they get all these chase down kills. And that's where Vi's getting a double kill, Rumble's getting a bunch of money off of that, and you see it really come to fruition a lot later as well, when Team Liquid are able to make an original, like, good play, and usually it's like killing Cream or something, or killing JackieLove, but then 369 roasts them all, Kanavi's able to keep them all in there, and, like, both of them just got massive.
And that's the thing, they were on the hunt, and sometimes I feel like TL were a bit disconnected onto like which targets they were supposed to go to, and every second counts, as we know, in League of Legends. And thanks to the reliable Cisco network, TS was able to secure over the fight at Arakan, and that's exactly the type of fights that I'm talking about. I would like to see more cohesion maybe on the side of Team Liquid.
Yeah, I mean, it starts off very good. I mean, take a look at this engage from Core DJ. Extremely clean. They have the Rakan Galio. This is what their comp does well. They're down like 6,000 gold as well in this fight. So it starts off so good, but then everything kind of falls apart all of a sudden.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Half of the team continued chasing, trying to get the extra kills, but then, as you saw, you know, Galio and Tristana.
We'll see how Game 2 draft goes. Maybe I'll feel better about TL. I do want Team Liquid to win, because I am, you know, North American after all.
Take away enemy smite, then he's able to get the Otacon. They get up all the flowers. 369's ultimate was really good for chasing them down as well there. And so, you know, like, those two were kind of like the Bash brothers of this game. Yon was doing his best. Like, Yon was like trying to scrape it together afterwards and like make some plays and keep us in there, but it was too much.
I mean, we see it here. Thinking about the second game, though, I want to say there's hope. I see light for TL, honestly, given the glimpse of what we saw in the early game. We've been talking about Umti doing great things yesterday. I feel like the early game today was a bit similar to this, but what do they need to do more here? I really feel like they could have won this game. It's just came down to some details maybe in fights.
Yeah, I mean, the early ganking was good. I feel like you need to be very solid afterwards. Like, they got a lot of these early ganks, did Team Liquid, did Umti, but the issue was that Team Top Esports, rather, they were also getting leads elsewhere on the map, and they were staying kind of even in gold. So
I don't know what to write or say.
Just those early leads, you really need to be able to have a composition, have a team that's able to follow up through that in the mid game.
More discipline, maybe. As well?
I think tracking enemy movements, because a couple of the over chases, the level 1 as well. Set them behind early, tracking enemies, especially 369 and Kanavi, and then not over chasing and remaining on the same target.
All right.
in the fight.
We'll keep that advice in mind. I hope they can hear you. As we're gonna send it back to casters for game 2. Take it away, guys.
Thank you very much, guys. Let's hope the TL can turn this one around. They did manage to kill JackeyLove a whole bunch more times than they did in their their previous showing. So we'll just have to see whether it's going to be better this time around.
I mean, I'm optimistic. I like the idea behind their
Hey,
composition
Spam.
and their early game plan.
Sorry, I'm having a really hard time focusing. This is my fault. Like when CFO wins like this, dude, holy shit. If it was 2-1, maybe I wouldn't be so hyped, but like 2-0? What the fuck?
I think like there's a conversation to be had about draft resources. And as we get into our champion select powered by Omen and HyperX, we can talk about the fact that Rumble is no longer available, right? Umpty, he played Xin Zhao in this composition that's built around the Galio. I don't think not having access to that is going to hurt them too much. And now TL on the blue side, which has proven to be a little bit more powerful, I guess. Certainly, if you're an LCK fan, you know that blue side was completely giga overpowered and it was ridiculous. If you're an LPL fan, you probably thought that red side was a little bit more powerful. But I think so far this tournament, blue has been strong.
So, Maokai, for the West, I'm thinking Maokai first pick, but Kallista's open. Okay, I mean, that's fair enough. I respect it.
I think you have to pick it away from JackeyLove.
I think you you got to trust Yon. I think the man has been having a great tournament so far, even on the Ezreal. I don't think he was misplaying. I just think that things were falling apart around him. So yeah, for sure, trust him.
We've seen Draven banned a few times so far this tournament.
That is a great point.
It's not banned now.
It's not banned.
Nico is going to be picked away and picked up here by either Crisp or Cream, I guess, although we have been seeing a lot more of it on the bottom side of the map. I mean, you don't even need to pick it here. You can pick a priority jungle if you'd like to. You can pick a top laner. Cassante is available, but it is going to be the Varus locked in instead.
Oh, show some screen? Yeah, my bad, I should.
Don't get me wrong. But after his Rumble performance, I just want to see him like...
My bad. I fucked up, guys. I fucked up.
Anyway, top lane I imagine is going to be much later down the line. Going for the Varus gives you a little bit more utility. Assuming that this Nico is in the support position, that is a very powerful 2v2 lane, but we're yet to see where exactly this Nico goes. With the Maokai locked in, I'm a happy camper. I think Maokai really simplifies the draft. Pairing that up with a Norless as well, like, that is a great 1-2-3 from Team Liquid. It's very solid, you can't really go wrong.
I know, I'm a terrible streamer. I gotta focus, let's lock in, guys, let's lock in. I'm gonna close everything, I'm closing everything. No more reading toxic messages.
Depth charge, the Brambles.
Zeko was a big fan of picking the Silas into Maokai specifically just because you could steal away that Maokai ultimate and basically...
Yeah, Silas is eating well with all those ultimates.
From the Maokai ultimate, you can respond with your own.
Yeah, I should have shown it after the match.
Leaves you open.
You're right.
In the mid lane
I should have gone on after the match. We could have read the comments and laughed together. I'm learning, Spam. I'm learning, okay?
There's not a lot of grounding left.
Yeah, I mean, how many more champs?
Usually when CFO wins, there's not like 1,000 comments about how fucking shit EU is. And how, like, CFO's just better. Like, you lost to the oysters? What? Like, that kind of shit? Dude, there's hundreds and hundreds of comments like that. It is ridiculous. Yeah, there's always tomorrow. I'll improve as time goes on. I've never done an international co-stream before, dude.
Jace has not been picked.
Yep, not quite yet.
Also,
and the Cassante is still up, so Kanavi, 369 can just play that one if he'd like to. Does give them
it's for
a little
sure
bit
a
less
Team
range,
Liquid
I guess.
Cassante, no?
You'd hope so, but they don't get first grab of it.
But I imagine that Top Esports...
Narban?
Narban, okay. Yeah, I imagine that it's going to be a jungle lock-in, and he's got a lot of options.
What would they pick for jungle?
Kindred would be fun, actually. Give a little bit of extra range.
Zyra also, but do you want to do double AP?
You wouldn't pick Zyra.
Lee Sin? No, surely not.
Pantheon.
Fun though.
Pantheon. I like that. I think it's good. Good setup with the mid jungle too. Gives you a lot of early game.
Yeah, Pantheon's probably a good option.
The global, I think, is really powerful. So top esports, a lot of team fight tools. Their front line isn't inherently strong in the sense that Panthers a pretty squishy champion.
Thank you, Spam. Thank you, Toko. Thank you, Sanai.
The Spawn made a suggestion that he thought was really funny. He's shaking his head.
It's like, I don't want to play Zillion.
Hue Sante, maybe?
Hue going to be an option.
Yeah, that's fine.
Gives you a bit of range. You don't mind it.
Yeah, okay, that's good. I like it.
I know you're a big fan of the color schemes. Look at the theme on the side of Team Liquid.
It's a little dark.
Yeah.
Kind of into it. Kasante bringing a bit of light to it, but I actually kind of...
Very swampy colors.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a forest coming into a beach.
Garden moss, one could say.
Yeah.
Now, rounding out top lane, 4-3-6-9. What are we going to get? With the Gnar band, and Rumble unavailable, are we going to see a tank matchup?
Thought maybe this was coming in. So
wow, Aatrox, okay.
Bringing that one out. Aatrox has found ups and downs.
But, I mean, like, if I looked at just draft,
so looking forward to seeing
I mean, like, Team Liquid draft seems, like, easier and better to play, no?
But we've seen Aatrox's colossally fail, but when they do get too strong,
What the fuck is that? I swear I've seen him before.
to handle, and 369 has very first-hand experience.
It is Goong. Holy shit. The other coach is Goong.
Oh yeah. You know what I mean?
He's like a former mid laner.
For 369, I think that
He was like meh or okay-ish. He's played, you know, but he's like old school legendary name. Damn, dude. On top esports now.
Playmaking, whereas Team Liquid have gone back to a style that works for them.
You streamers salt for losing. Oh fuck, dude. Spam. I need to go watch all the streamers after this. Guy Chamber Case had 40,000 views. Damn, dude. Well, I guess I'm gonna watch that. Fuck, dude. I really wish I spoke French.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to the amount of cool stuff that he has, it's extensive. It really is. So even things like Fate's Call can be so incredibly strong when you have such an only go in style of
He spoke English? Oh, he did? I thought a KC streamer was French. Usually a co-stream in French, but I could be wrong.
And this is a composition that can run out of time in games. You know, when you've got this Maokai
Fuck.
composition.
Okay, I know what I'm doing later tonight, dude. I gotta get my bottle of lube and load up all the EU streamers and just see their reactions, dude.
I mean, top esports, of course, the expected.
You can translate if you want. Yo, Month, if you find some good content, like good reactions of like European streamers, like losing their mind during the CFO match, send it to me. Let me know.
Ruthless. Oh yeah. But especially after FlyQuest's impressive series
okay.
Genji at the World Championship last year, I think North America and LTA want to be confident in their teams.
I think so too. I also think.
Are you talking about KMTlol?
Right?
He's not K Corp, but he is European.
CL didn't really have that many fantastic games, right? There are a lot
Actually, where is the K Corp stream?
Saying that he wasn't necessarily doing so well. This wasn't the team that a lot of people were expecting to be heading here to first.
We watched the finals. I'm pretty sure we were both.
I don't know. I'll have to find it. But yeah, if you find good content, okay, yeah. Check his reactions during CFO match. He was losing his mind. Yeah, KMTlol's European, so he cheers for EU, right? I'm gonna watch, dude. I have to watch. I gotta see how he reacts.
Kalista is a strong laning champion. Unfortunately, when there's two range champions against a Nautilus Kalista at level 1, there's not really a lot.
It was nice to watch. Fuck, dude, that's usually what I do. But like, I don't know. Like, listen, there's like new co-streaming rules for me, so I'm not sure exactly what I could do. I'll find out for tomorrow, though.
This is what's gonna happen. You're just gonna be.
Yeah, my YouTube stream had to end. I didn't know, dude. Like, they didn't give me a proper email. But I'll have to double check for it.
Top esports and Crisp here, because it was obviously there only to deny a Kalista Renata combination.
But I'll download the bot and I'll upload it after, so it'll be fine.
Renata just in general. And so CoreJJ not wanting to pick that one up, then has to go for this less powerful in lane style of champion.
Oh, he's doing a fantastic job, by the way.
Wow, they're getting poked out.
when he's underneath the tower by zoning Yon away from one CS, and then Yon messes up his Ren so he doesn't kill another. And then as Yon tries to get another CS, he throws out the E, rooting him in place to then finally have the Q back up. And as
Dude,
one more, he denied
Team
like
Liquid's
4 or
getting
5 CS
fucking
just through his
shit
pressure.
on.
And
Or
already
at
you
least
can see
Bally's
9
like,
to
I mean,
15.
Bears Nico is a strong duo compared to like Kalista, Nautilus.
From Yon.
And 126 gold just passively from lane as well is a big deal here, as Jackie is going to continue.
It's ruthless.
Yeah, just pushing wave after wave. An opportunity now as Umpty finishes his full clear, going to be heading down towards his Krug camp, might be able to try and bail them out.
Looks like Kanavi might be going bot.
Resources invested.
TES jungler?
Then becomes more open. We've got both of these Rift Scuttlers available as Cream has closed the gap between him and APA. APA taking a fair bit of damage here. Does shield himself up, though should be okay. But it's not okay.
Hey, Bastion, what's up?
Also, I love the electrocute pickup on Cream, basically giving you the strong burst rotation.
Yo, Bastion's being facts. What the fuck? Cream? How the fuck did he get a solo kill?
Cream, that trade from earlier, paying off beautifully. And yeah, it's once again, Cream picking up first blood against TL.
Nicely done, very nicely done. Just recognizing the strength of the champion in these early levels. If you can
stop the count. What do you mean, Bastion? We still have to shit on NA.
Those outplays, and he's able to get it.
Once we do that, then yeah, we can stop the count.
Game 1, and now with a solo kill here in game 2, Cream is off to a fantastic start.
What the fuck? Why would he play replay?
On to Umpty there as well, but we're going to back away from that. Don't want to watch it. Going to check out this solo kill here from Cream.
Wow. Oh my god, and he flashed it?
Yep.
It's just boring now, so we win this tournament? True. Dude, I told you, man. Listen, I mean, I guess I was like heavily biased, right? My heavily biased opinion was that Jinja would perform better under a different coaching staff. Me? Biased? No, never. Yeah, I know, right? I don't know why I even get the disclaimer. Hey guys, full disclosure. CFO pays me money. I've helped build the team. I'm terribly biased towards them. But Jinja's just the goat. It's like, what the fuck? Your tweet found its way to France? No way, dude. I think I liked it. I saw it, right? I think I retweeted. I forget. I'm not good with Twitter, dude. I'm really bad with Twitter. I'll have to find it. Oh, what the fuck? He turned it around, though. Oh, okay. Damn, dude.
So Kanavi, he overstays his welcome, but you can see the skirmishing strength.
Dude, the comments are going fucking crazy.
APA. But it's a situation where in the 2 versus 2, it's just so much easier for this Silas Pantheon to win out. And so Cream wisely sacrifices the farm in mid lane to regroup with his jungler, and they're able to get that kill. They weren't expecting Core JJ to arrive, and it means that it ends up being a 1-for-1. But the damage done in the bot lane as well as a consequence, 48 CS to 30.
Yeah, I was so happy today, dude. 2-0 is something I did not expect. It's absolutely bonkers.
Incidental coming from this way in the mid lane. As 369
Fake fan. I try to be humble. Because if I gave out my opinion, it'd just be like, oh, 3-0, 3-0, 2-0, who cares?
Ultimately, though, 369 still doing well in the 1v1.
Indeed.
Dude, but like, after draft, I felt like we won it. Like, every game. Like, it just felt like this draft gap, dude. And the players, they play like shit. Like, game 2 draft, I was like, fuck, is this actually like a dog shit draft?
And if you have early prio, oh, hang on, Umpty looking for a play.
Yeah, there's the all out. 369. We'll see whether Umpty can get this
yes, flash?
to work out. Bramble smash to push him back there as well. Great knock up.
Or he doesn't have flash?
Getting the sweet spot on that Q though, fantastic.
Oh yeah, I guess he doesn't need it.
A bunch of health back and he is going to be absolutely fine. No flash needed.
Yeah, I'm impressed that he held his flash for the entire
People haven't worked out. You need to ban Bard, Elias Nico versus Kyron. True. Dude, I saw Molecule tweet that. He's like, hey, K-Corp fans, listen.
managing to
You have to ban Bard, at least Nico. And I was like, holy shit, dude.
As well, I think just being able
Like he was like trying to like give out like his analysis and showing like, look, here's a game where Kaiwing did well on Yuumi. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? How the fuck do you even find that shit? You found like the one good game.
So incredibly
Yo, dude, I was laughing so hard when I saw that shit. Dude, respect, man. Dude, shout out to Molecule helping CFO out by trying to sabotage EU.
Largely because
dude.
so big. Of course, only about a kill ahead, or a first blood ahead, I guess, with the fact that a kill did come back onto APA. Could be important moving forward.
You know, Atlas, I've had the luxury.
Dude, you know what? I mean, LCP can't be ignored now, dude. You can't just like, there's only 5 regions, you know? You gotta fucking like at least have someone that understands what the fuck CFO's doing. Because looking at the analysis desk, they're just like, I think, I saw once. I'm just like, come on, man.
It's a corruption gang. You love to see it. Cream is gonna get feared once again. Oh, APA's got his eye in. I don't know whether it's actually going to matter too much here as they trade some ultis. And yeah, despair is indeed it.
Dude, Sheep Esports said we did an upset. I was like, what the fuck?
There's the spiraling as Cream.
That's the only thing I hate. Like if NA fans said like, oh, in general, you know, like LEC NA is like slightly better, so we should win 2-1, or you know, it might be a 1-2. I can understand that, but it's like they think that like, oh, we have to close the gap between LPL, LCK, and the West. I'm like, dude, you forgot about LCP. You haven't. The gap is we're way closer.
And Team Liquid can't avoid it. Nice trade back initially from APA, but it ends up.
Oh, Core JJ, please.
Not gonna quite find it there. Good sidestep from JackieLo.
I thought Jackie could have turned that into a kill, to be honest.
It's not even an age thing. Do you see what Kaiwing did today? Dude, Kaiwing played really well, dude. Like he got caught, but it was like calculated caught.
Team Liquid is.
It's like, oh, you got me. Oh, I'm the support. Good job. Oh my god, dude.
Does manage to find a minion.
Well, we gotta convince them to come watch us, so we gotta keep winning, dude. CFO, we're trying our best. CFO, I mean, we work pretty hard, man. I mean, we took a small break after the finals, but like, we're trying, dude.
And so he's still taking some relevant damage from the play. Not quite enough to really turn the tides of this matchup, and this Silas is going to become more and more of a problem as this game goes on. Now going for a recall. Might just be that full first item completion. As we check this one out one more time.
Dude, all the comments are like, not an upset. Not an upset.
And it looks like a great opportunity for a kill. You can see the QW combo summoning that Thunderbolt, and APA wants to push out the wave, but...
Yeah, it's not an upset.
Yep.
If the game was like close, maybe you can call an upset, but like, dude, that game, those 2 games were so one-sided. Like, it never felt like close. Maybe game 1 kind of did, but like K-Corp did not understand how to play their draft, and they just like lost. Because their draft is hard to play. I don't know what the fuck they're drafting there.
The problem is how neutered will they be prior to reaching that win condition.
Dude, they're giving up all 6 grubs? For what? Nothing.
It's a lot of red, yeah.
Team Liquid is so fucked, dude.
Yet, though, so that's good news.
Are they gonna fight for Scuttle Crab?
You know what I mean? Always looking at the bright side.
Well, this may not necessarily be as much.
They are.
Sports are moving down, trying to push them away as the brambles come out. Nature is grasping. They do manage to get a few.
Okay, wait, never mind. Pantheon? Okay, to get Pantheon. I don't know if pulling Core JJ back was good. Oh, no, I guess it's fine. Okay. Core JJ's hooks have been kind of ass, but fuck, dude.
I think this demonstrates the strength of G2's
The Cream is playing really well.
As they get a really nice collapse in the river, beautifully done, as they're able to just lock down target members. Once the E is gone from the Pantheon as well, it makes it so much easier. Remember, he's not that strong of a front line. He is pretty squishy, so if they tunnel onto him, they have the damage needed to shut him down. So thanks to the Maokai ultimate, they have great control over the space. 369 only has about 50% of his HP. And then with the TP coming through, while the hook doesn't connect, the ultimate does come through from Core JJ. And a nice flash from Yon to sidestep that engage from Crisp, meaning that the target selection becomes very easy as they follow up onto 369.
They also get 369's flash there as well. Felt like he was pretty dead to rights regardless. Top Esports still going to be able to grab themselves this dragon. They have 6 scrubs yet again. I believe that's 12 in the series thus far. TL not really being able to fight in this early game very well. That is only dragon number 1, I guess. 5 minutes until the mountain is going to be up and available. TL need to be able to control space on this map better than just catch them while they're running away from taking exactly what they want, you know?
Completely right. But I mean, a sign of hope at the very least for Team Liquid.
100%.
When we think about optimism, that's a great position to be in.
I mean, I guess it's optimistic.
Creep does still hold on to a lead in terms of the mid lane matchup, but the amount of utility that Team Liquid have access to, and you can see playing with a little bit more confidence as they move their bot lane into mid, get that push off.
First item is done here for Yon, so he's...
Yeah, dude. Be honest, man. I don't give a fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Like, the CFO, like, buy his space.
The Darkened Blade just kind of makes things unfair as, okay, in they go.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've always been that way, too.
And Yon takes so much damage. There's Kanavi, lands the spear, and Umpty just there a little bit too late. The bottom lane eviscerated, and Top Esports once again on top.
Great idea from Team Liquid, but the response from Kanavi was just that much better. Nice use of the ultimate to
like, I feel like they've always been, like, disrespectful.
2v2 ends in disaster. That ulti from Crisp as well, providing some much needed crowd control.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like weird. He's down. Who's next on the list? We gotta take down Team Liquid. If we take down NA and EU, I'm gonna fucking pop the fuck off, dude.
As Cream will be able to take this turret on the bottom side as well. Feats of strength going their way for that one.
Oh, he was?
The idea here. The CC does connect the double.
No, tomorrow we play against Korea, so that one's gonna be a little bit rough. But if we win, if we lose 1-2, that's a fucking win in my book, dude. Because Hanwha looks super strong right now. So I'm just hoping. This is what I want, right? I want CFO to play their game against Hanwha, win or lose. Just show me your style, show me your gameplay, and I'll be happy. I aspire to be as good as Kobe.
Does have a 27 gold advantage. Cream not able to find those.
Yeah, I think Kobe is a really great caster, of course, dude. Like, no, it's just that, like, it's just the, like, yeah, NAEU mentality of just, like, they think that the gap between NA, like, the West and the East is closing, but the problem is that there's a huge gap between the East and the West. And then LCP should be right underneath NAEU, right? Like, that gap, that's the gap that's closing. LCP is like closing the gap between NAEU. If people say, oh, I think historically they'll be the 5th best team, yeah, fine. I can't really argue against that, right? But yeah, like, it adds disrespect. Like, I've always felt annoyed. Like, that was one of my gripes with, like, the broadcast. Oh yeah, that too. People always ignore that part. It's like, yeah, LCP or PCS sucks because all the best players leave.
So if Impact can be that front line, make things as difficult as possible, that could be their way through.
Yeah, I mean, we're speaking a lot from the context of Team Liquid.
Yeah, Maple Fofo, but still, the point is that, like,
they've built themselves a 2K gold
like, the PCS region is strong. It's just that many players get imported away. NA doesn't have that problem because NA has no good players, or they have like so little good players.
Right now, especially in the game, it feels like Top Esports composition spikes really hard. It's a scary position for TL to be in because this is where Top Esports can really break the game open.
Oh shit! Who's tower? Oh, it was Umpty. Oh yeah. Oh, pop W? Oh, he didn't block the tower shot though. Wait, what the fuck is going on? Oh. Fofo, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Every team has a Korean import except for, or Koreans except for one team.
As Leonidas once said, give them nothing but take from
Dude, they did a one tower dive and they got a 4-for-1 trade. What? The fuck? That's crazy. This game's over, dude.
Monstrous. As Team Liquid fall short in the dive.
That almost looked unfair, but we'd seen it. It was only yesterday that Zeus was defying.
Like, that's why 2022, when CFO beat 100 Thieves, I was so happy, dude. I was like, I had to watch this dog shit region NA just disappoint me every year, but now finally I get to be the reason why NA are just disappointed. And I felt so good, dude. Yeah, we only won one game, but dude, fuck them, dude. Fuck NA. Dude, Team Liquid is getting fucking gapped, dude. Like, I don't know what to say, man. Like, they're just getting fucking shit on in every conceivable angle.
Oh dear. I don't think he's getting out of this one. Decent little fear, but that's spiraling to
Oh my god, are they trying to decide who gets it? Ugh.
As Kanavi wanted to give this kill over to Cream. It takes a little bit of time, but eventually it is going to the APA.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I understand.
That really felt like a back-breaking moment there towards the bottom lane. Now insult.
No, like if people say like, oh, CFO is gonna lose 2-0 to HLE and TES, I honestly have no problem with that. No problem. It makes sense, you know? Yeah. Historically, the #1 team from LPL, LCK are just completely built differently. It's just NA and EU. That's the thing that I have a problem with. Because 2019, 2020 G2, yes, they were built different. They were fucking amazing. But now it's been like 5 years after, dude.
A trade of ultimates, Cream continues to build his lead in the side lane as after APA losing his life, it opens up this tower.
Like, yeah, G2 sometimes has like moments of amazingness. Like, I love that 2019 G2, dude. I thought they were like they were one of my favorite teams to watch because how they played. But yeah, it's just been years. Oh my god, dude. Did they even win that? 2v1? I felt like they would have died anyways if there was no TP. Oh, dude, this game was so ass, dude. It's over. Dude, they're just like gapping them so hard, dude.
I mean, what else is there to say? 369 isn't your enemy, he's
Yeah.
the enemy.
No, I mean, if we win against Team Liquid, I'll fucking write a tweet about stuff, my thoughts about things.
As he refused to fall.
And they managed to get him a couple of times, but it feels like as soon as that first item's done.
Because yeah, like people have to understand that like
so hard.
LCP is like different, dude.
Move on over to this Ruinous Otacon.
So much Ruinous Otacon.
I know. This is so yeah, voracious. I really love that that Otacon. It was
like every game. Ruinous.
Yeah, you know what? If fucking Team Liquid if CFO beats Team Liquid, I will fucking ejaculate on stream. My camera will just like explode from the amount of fucking semen that will fly towards at Mach speed. You will hear the sound barrier pop. What is happening? Why are they still fighting like this? Oh, there is no reason. Of course. I think we have a really good chance. I think Team Liquid's macro is a little bit better than K-Corp. But like, dude. I mean, you see what's happening, dude. Performing that game? Yeah. No, Ginger played really well today, but like I was surprised with Honkyu. I was afraid that Honkyu might have like stage jitters. You know, like how we had in the first game of the LCP, Honkyu died to Otacon. Other shit like that might happen. But man, dude, he actually tried to make a lot of plays. Like he was flashing in, looking for kills, like, you know, popping off. Some of the flashes were kind of bad, but like that's not my concern. I don't care about good or bad plays. I care about mindset. What is the mindset or reasoning behind your plays? If you're, you know, and that's what I judge people on. So Honky's mindset and ideas were really good. Execution could be better, but like there's no stage jitters. He's actually confident in how he plays. And that to me is huge. Because it's rare for a rookie to be that confident day one, you know, playing against in front of fans like that. Especially the K-Corp fans, dude. They're loud as fuck. That shit's intimidating. Yeah, he did a great job. Like, I give him an A, you know? Solid. That's what I want from you, Hunky. Just do that. Yeah. Yeah, Grand Finals game 1? Yeah, that too. I forgot. I was trying to think what the fuck does GF mean, because I was kept thinking girlfriend. I was like, first game girlfriend? What the fuck? Like, no, Grand Finals. I finally understood what that comment was. But yeah, like game 1 Grand Finals, like, yeah, dude, he choked hard. But like, he played like, you know, he played like he was like Hungyu. Like, yo, I'm actually really good. I'm a fucking LCP champion.
His own jungle, or what used to be his own jungle, it now belongs to Top Esports. He has to sacrifice a large amount of his health.
He played his style, he played his game, and it was great. Loved it.
It has to be behind Impact.
Pretty much.
Like, I feel like the direction CFO is going is exactly what I want.
Team Liquid's
It's a little bit like, I have to be careful because you can't be like too confident or too happy with the situation. Because there's always place for improvement, right? But like right now, like I'm really happy. Like this is like everything's going according to plan essentially.
similar to what we saw in game 1.
8, 2, and 6.
But I mean, I think Spawn, the coach for Team Liquid, I feel like he's done a great job too. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see which coach or which system is better.
For this one, I'd actually find it quite difficult.
Yeah, he is from OS. Yeah. Of course he's great, dude. You know what? I'm gonna be honest, dude. When I heard like NA and E were importing like OC coaches, I was like, what the fuck? Like, isn't their macro like one of the worst parts about like OC like teams and international? But like, you know, Swiper, like what's his face? Spawn. There's like a bunch of like hidden Australians or oceanic people in like Western teams. Because I don't know everyone, right? So whenever I look at Leaguepedia and it says he's from Australia, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, okay. Had no chance to learn? Yeah. But like, I just felt like if you had no chance to learn, like, how could you teach better? But I was proven wrong, so I had to rethink about like my thought process because of that. Because I'm like, you know, like, yeah, why is like a region that doesn't, why are teams that don't have good macro have good coaches that could teach good macro for other teams? So it's just like an interesting thought thing. But yeah, like, dude, there's a lot of good Oceanic coaches. Yeah, the different styles of coaching, like Spawn, like, I don't know, man, that guy turned Team Liquid around so quickly, so fast. Like Swiper's in fucking Cloud9 now. It's like, damn, dude. Like, there's a lot of good coaches in NA.
Team Liquid are now doing what they can to do some damage control, try and get some farm back out on the map ahead of the Baron.
True, I am mostly just talking about like what I see in like those, the videos they post, and like, yeah, the videos that are posted behind the scenes, and like what people say about Spawn.
Whenever they want as well, just gives Crisp a whole lot of control.
So I could be wrong.
But TL with information. And if they give up this Baron, it's likely.
Oh no, wait, where's Swiper actually? Oh, Swiper, no, Swiper's in Team Liquid. I'm stupid. Yeah, Spawn and Swiper are in Team Liquid. Spooks. Oh shit, watch out! No, never mind. He got one kill. I thought something was gonna happen. I'm stupid. Yeah, like the thing is, like, it's hard to judge how good a coach is if you don't have behind the scenes knowledge. Because I think, like, you know, Chowie and Uala are like fantastic coaches, but I get to watch them coach and I get to watch them scrim, and you know, obviously I'm gonna have that opinion. The other is like track record and like, you know, what people say online.
This series a 2-0, a quick day overall. Atlas as Top Esports get a nice bounce back after their loss yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn, okay.
This is going to be Nexus Turret 1 focused, and Top Esports, this is exactly that bounce back that we were looking for, because some people were saying that HLE were looking like they weren't going to be contested. And Top Esports saying, no. We just had a bit of an off day. Looking absolutely fantastic here up against TL, and we'll see whether that...
Hey. Damn, dude. Crazy. I want to check this out, though. Driver has a message.
こんにちは、LJL 団の皆さん、CFO トムレーンドライブです。僕たちは LJL の意思を胸に一緒に歩み続けていきます。だって僕たちは夢共同体だから。
We're regional buddies, so please cheer for us. Or I'll keep winning for us. Oh, that's it. Okay. Enemy girl team like, I got true, dude. Your driver's been practicing Japanese, dude. It's not bad. Damn, dude. Okay. I'm gonna watch a bunch of other EU players and EU coaches or streamers.
Thank you so much, guys. We're back here for
I want to see what people were saying during the CFO match versus K Corp. But I'll be back on tomorrow. Hopefully, you know, I'll get the streaming thing down more.
Obviously,
I've never done an international event, so this is like a amazing opportunity. I'm so glad. CFO.
To go for the bottom lane draft that they
I got the fucking
because that has been TL
rest.
Power, for the longest time, and they really took that.
I'm really happy though. Today was a great day. Hopefully tomorrow will be better. It's gonna be a short stream for today, but I'll be back. Yeah, I'll upload my stuff onto YouTube, and we'll figure it out from there. All right, guys, thanks for stopping by. Peace. See you tomorrow.